opening drive on 101 ESPN in St. Louis. We're at 7 o'clock. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Brooke Grimsley off for her bachelorette party. Dan McLaughlin is here. Matthew Rocc is here. I'm Randy Carricker. Great to have you with us. Good morning. Happy Friday Eve, Daniel. How you doing?
I'm doing great. How about you guys?
I'm doing well. Looking forward to a busy show today. At the bottom of this hour, we're going to talk to Battlehawks wide receiver Hakeem Butler. They're off and running with training camp and getting ready for their opener at the end of this month. Man, Battlehawks are right around the corner. Let's see, they're 3 weeks away from playing, and they have like the top 4 receivers from last year's XFL on their roster.
We probably should explain why that training camp is not in St. Louis or around the surrounding area. All the teams get together, and it's probably to save money, but They can scrimmage down there. They can get against other teams, and that's why you don't have training camp in St. Louis.
And one training facility that they have to pay for rather than 8 around America. They all practice at one place, and they have their own individual fields. And then the other part of it, Dan, is that during the season, if the Battlehawks play Arlington, both teams will fly on the plane into St. Louis together, play the game, and then fly back to Dallas together.
Those are interesting conversations, I would imagine, on the plane.
I would think so,
What if a couple of guys get into it, and all of a sudden they got to get on the same plane?
Yeah, right.
You know?
That'd be
tough.
We're also going to talk to Robert Thomas. He's going to be at the 8 o'clock hour, right at the top of the 8 o'clock hour. And then Mike Kelly from NHL Network with the NHL trade deadline set for tomorrow. Mike Kelly will join us as well.
Not the Mike Kelly.
Not Mike Kelly.
Mike Kelly. It's a little bit after 7 on the Tiger Network from Learfield.
Our buddy is just recovering from knee replacement surgery.
The Mike Kelly in Columbia.
Great. Yeah, the Mike Kelly.
Okay.
Now, we aren't going to tell this other Mike Kelly that he's not the Mike Kelly. But Mike Kelly, the voice of the SEC winless Tigers. If ever there was a season to have knee replacement and miss a few games, this is it.
Isn't it weird? There's like apathy right now with the Tigers. Mm-hmm. It's not like people are overly mad or, upset. The people that I talk to that are huge Missouri fans are just kind of apathetic to the situation, and you'd rather have them be upset, I think, than apathy. Apathy is not a good thing in sports.
It's not, but I wonder if people honestly look at this as a one-off because Dennis Gates had such a good first year, lost a couple of players, and I get the sense that a lot of Tiger fans are saying, well, we've got the recruiting class coming in. This is the aberration and not last year. I wonder if that's part of the thought, too, is, okay, yeah, they're bad, but we really don't care because they're going to be good again next year.
I'm one of them. Yeah. I'm one of them. I just look at, say, okay, 0-16, 0-17, fine, but I can't wait for next year to see what they got because the recruiting class is so good.
Yeah, and there's not a whole lot to do now when you don't have an athletic director, right?
Isn't that something?
Yeah.
You got to get that thing done, man.
They got to get to work on that and get the right person. Somebody, when we talked to Travis Ford the other day, we know how much coaches, and Eli is another one, think about NIL, and you need to get somebody like Desiree Reed-Francois who is cutting edge with name, image, and likeness paint.
I'm going to start with an early sick of it, which is today, but I'm sick of these athletic directors and universities hiring firms to hire the coach. I mean, the AD should have a list of people in their desk and say, if I can't get this one, I'm going to this one. And once I get turned down by that one, I go to number 3. It should be a list, should be easily discernible to figure out exactly what it's going to cost you and who you want on your target list.
Dan, the night that Desiree Reed-Francois left, I went on the internet and found 5 candidates for Mizzou. They could just pay me.
I did too. There's connections to Mizzou all over the place.
Yeah.
Get them. By the way, this is like live at Shannon's. We're sending this way back in the Wayback Machine with you and I doing this.
Yeah, exactly. Were you there the night that Mike, you were, the night that Mike promoted Bruce Springsteen throughout the game?
Yes. I was there. That's just one of so many stories, though, about Mike Shannon. So we could do 3 hours of Mike Shannon stories.
It was the best. And then Big Frank is sitting there getting ready to engineer. A guy walks in, says, hey, is this where the Mike Shannon show is? And Big Frank, who's expecting Bruce Springsteen to walk through the door at any moment, guy says, hi, I'm Bruce Hornsby. Uh-oh.
The wrong Bruce.
It's the wrong Bruce musician. But it was a great show. The Cardinals are back in action after a day off yesterday. The Redbirds taking on Houston down in Florida. Christian Javier will go for the Astros, and Kyle Gibson will go for the Redbirds. And Kyle Gibson is a guy that he is what he is, and Dan, I don't worry about him. My only concern about him, and he was healthy last year, and he was actually healthy with Philadelphia 2 years ago too. All I want him to do is be healthy. He's been around enough that if he has a 13.50 ERA like he does right now at the end of spring training, I'm not going to worry about it one whit.
No, you're just hoping to get 5 to 6 innings out of him, save the bullpen when his fifth day arises, and I'm not expecting huge things from him. Just get innings. If you can get innings out of him, and then other starters provide starts in which you're only giving up 1 or 2, then I'll take that, because you have to have a guy, Randy, as you well know, in your rotation that can kind of take one for the team. If that's not probably the right way to phrase it, but if he gives you innings, he's going to save the bullpen.
The name, maybe the best ever at that, was Jason Marquis, at least here in St. Louis. The guy who was the fifth starter, who'd give you 200 innings and take one for the team, and the pitching coach would come out and say, hey, this is yours. Sorry, we don't have anybody in the bullpen. This is yours. And Marquis was great at that.
He was, and Jeff Suppan was another. Now, Soup wouldn't stay in games all that long, but he'd give you a chance to win. I kind of look at Kyle Gibson a little bit like Suppan, not overpowering, but he'll give you a chance to win, and that's all you're asking.
Yeah. Interesting piece today at The Athletic by Tim Britton, and he has a headline, MLB Extension Week, Part 4, how much can the next generation of stars earn? He doesn't have Jordan Walker on his list of players that could get extensions this offseason. He's got Adley Rutschman of the Orioles, who's a great young player, and he suggests that Rutschman could get a $156 million deal over 8 years. William Contreras, Wilson's brother with the Brewers, he says could get 70 over 6. And then he has Lars Nootbaar, and he projects first, his comp for Lars Nootbaar is a young Aaron Hicks or Randall Grichuk, and he has an extension projection for Lars Nootbaar of 7 years and $68 million, essentially $10 million a year. Would you do that for Lars Nootbaar right now?
Not right now.
I don't think I would either.
I want to make sure he stays on the field. He's got to show me he can stay healthy. Now, if he stays healthy, buying out some arbitration years, I'm all about it, because then it sets up the potential of understanding what your payroll is going to be and trying to fit in that payroll one Jordan Walker. I'm not sure I would give Jordan Walker an extension right now either. I would say to him, let's get on the field, let's get comfortable, let's start putting up numbers, and then at that point in season, maybe approach him and his representation and say, now's the time to do it if you want to do it.
And I would think Jordan Walker will be fine with that, because the price is only going to go up.
Oh, yeah.
When you see the Bobby Witt Jr. contract, when you see what Julio Rodriguez got a few years ago, when you see Churio from Milwaukee having not played a game, the price for Jordan Walker is only going to go up. So I'm sure that he's happy to sit and wait. He doesn't have to sign anything. But he could get into a situation where $300 million this year turns into $400 million next year at this time.
I could see him accepting one of these offers that's not even over $100 million, but buys out some arbitration years just because he's so young, and then get another bite at the apple. So take care of generational money up front. It's not like he's 24. And say, okay, we'll buy out some arbitration years. We'll get you to the finish line of that. And then at that point, get another bite at the apple, because he's only going to be 28 years old.
And if you sign him for a 6-year deal for $120, that buys out his ARB years and 1 year of free agency. And then he's 27?
Yeah, 27, 28. That's what I'm saying, the free agency. Yeah.
So he's in Juan Soto territory.
Absolutely.
The NHL trade deadline is tomorrow. As we mentioned, we're going to talk to Mike Kelly of NHL Network coming up at 9:15. But trades yesterday, former Blues winger Vladimir Tarasenko goes to the Panthers, and apparently they're going to play him on a line with Matthew Tkachuk. He goes for a pair of picks, and Ottawa does retain 50% of the salary of Vladimir Tarasenko. If he has anything left in the tank, he loves Miami, spends his off seasons down there. He's playing with Matthew Tkachuk. All he has to do is worry about shooting the puck. If there's anything left in the tank for Vladimir Tarasenko, now's the time where we're either going to see it or we're not.
We're seeing that some of these contracts are being retained on the trade, that teams are swallowing money. Yep. And I wonder if the Blues would do that with Buch. There's been some reports that Doug Armstrong would get creative with that contract, maybe swallow some of the money, and look forward to what you'd have in that regard. I was looking the other day. Pending UFAs for the Blues, I wrote this down. Kapanen, $3 million. Blais is $1 million. Sundqvist is $775. Scandella, $3.2. Verana, $1.7. That's roughly $7 to $8 million if guys don't stay here or they get traded. So that's some of the money that comes off the books next year. And Buchnevich's money, some of that money may come off next year, too.
And all due respect to those guys that you just listed, the only one I really have interest in keeping around for next year is Sundqvist.
Yeah,
if the
I'm
other
with
ones
you.
walk, Kapanen, it was a nice year. Vrana, it was a nice couple of months. So I'm not bothered. I like Marco Scandella. I think he's a nice, valuable guy, but I think the Blues can do better. Not better, but they can get more bang for their buck than with Scandella, who on a good team is probably your number 7 defenseman.
Yeah, Kapanen, the money would be too high for a team to take that on. That's $3 million. Scandella, you have to think, in my opinion, like you, Randy, you've been saying a long time, I think he's a lock to be traded at this point. He could help a team. Sundqvist may be the other guy that a team would see some value in, put him on a third or a fourth line and gives you some grit and see what he can do.
But I would rather have him than a third or fourth round pick. I'd rather have Sundqvist on my team.
100%. I'm with you, too.
Vegas, the rich just keep getting richer. Noah Hannafin goes from Calgary to Vegas in a 3-team deal. And so they not only have Shea Theodore and Alec Martinez and Alex Pietrangelo, but now they add Noah Hannafin to the group there in Vegas. And Vegas is primed now to go for it again. And, man, I admire that organization because they started off as the guys that nobody wanted, and now they've got everybody wanted Noah Hannafin. Now they're getting everybody that everybody wants.
Yeah, it's interesting. I haven't been overwhelmed with some of these deals. Have you?
No, there hasn't been the wow deal yet. I think there's been some nice additions, but at this point, no, there hasn't been. And I don't think there will be that wow deal. At this point, the number 1 player that was going to get moved was Jake Gensel. I don't know where he goes now.
You could ask Doug Armstrong to get some stopgaps, but also you could ask him, I think if you're being honest with yourself, if you gutted it, I'd be okay with it. I'd say next year is kind of a wash. We're going to develop some players. Snuggerud is here. Kessel is here. So you have some young players that get seasoning. Maybe some of the number 1 picks that you get back for Buchnevich would develop in a couple of years and just say it's a wash and it's a rebuild. I know fans don't like to hear that. I know it would be 3 years out of the playoffs, but do you see yourself getting much better next year to where you have a chance to make the playoffs?
You need to get lucky at some point. I mentioned this yesterday. I walked in on the fast lane, and we grew up with the Blues being doomed to mediocrity because they made the playoffs every year, but then they got knocked out. So they never had a number 1 pick that was that impact guy, but they were also never good enough to win a Stanley Cup. So they were just in the middle of the pack, which is where they are right now. Well, you either have to get lucky, like the Blues did when they got Brett Hull and never won a Stanley Cup with him, or like they did with taking Tarasenko with the 10th pick in the draft, or you have to get terrible. And, man, I just don't know if terrible would sell here. But one of these
3 years, Randy, without the playoffs.
I know. But
and I'm with you on this.
And that guy, whoever it is, even if you get Connor McDavid's never been to the finals. You know, you have to get that guy. Everybody expected Alex Lafreniere to be a star, and he's not. You kind of have to get lucky with the number 1 pick too, and just getting the number 1 pick. We should have had the number 1 pick last year.
So
Chicago got it.
You were on the fast lane.
I was doing some work here, and I just walked in on the fast lane for one segment because Anthony was talking about how the Blues don't have that guy, and it just hit me that he was saying that good teams aren't going to give up good players to get other good players. Like when the Blues got Hull, nobody expected Calgary to trade Hull, but at that point, without a cap, they needed the defenseman in Ramage, and they needed the goalie in Wammer, and so they were able to make that deal. Remember Joe Nieuwendyk for Jerome Iginla, and Dallas knew that Iginla was going to be a good player. They were willing to give him up because they wanted to win with Nieuwendyk that year, and they did, and Calgary won that year. Now with the salary cap, if you have a good young player, you aren't moving him. Any good young player is not moving to a team that is buying.
Kind of hurt.
Yeah.
No, I'm kind of hurt.
Oh, that I walked in on them?
Yeah. You should save your best stuff for the mornings. Because you're mega mind. You can go through all these things. You understand caps. You understand the mornings. Mm-hmm. You understand, what players are going where. You educate me, and you gave it all to the fast lane.
Not everything.
You saved some for today.
I've got a lot for today.
All right.
A couple of other notes. Vegas also gets Casey Middlestat, the Sabres' leading scorer, so they add Hannafin and Middlestat. The Avs traded Ryan Johansson and a first-rounder for Sean Walker. And so the defenseman Sean Walker goes to Colorado. And Vegas also has already added Anthony Mantha. So a busy trade deadline, and the deadline is today, and you'll hear about it throughout the day here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, get your text into the Air Comfort Service text line, 314-399-9646, 314-399-YO-HO. No Brooke today.
So maybe if Brooke's not here, I can be excused?
No, you got to do it while you're committed to one a day.
Ho.
I'm sick of it. Next year on 101 ESPN. Okay, it's time for Sick of It. And during the break, Dan walked me right into Sick of It.
I didn't mean to.
No, but it's these kids, and it's not all kids, because Matthew Rocc, our producer, audio, video engineer, is an exceptionally hard worker. He's here every day, and he's here well after the show and works very hard to make sure that this show is as good as it can possibly be, and our social media presence is great. So we appreciate you, Matthew, very, very much. And one thing I told my kids when they got into the workforce, Dan, is, and Dan is the reason that my son has his job. Dan got him his job at what was then Fox Sports Midwest, and Patrick started the day after he finished college. Dan got him an internship. He started there the day after college, and now my son runs social media for Valley Sports. But what I told him was, first day he goes in for that internship, I said, when you finish a project, you go to your superior and say, I'm done with this, what can I do next? And then when you are done for the day, go to your superior and say,
what can I do next?
Is there anything else I can do for you before I go? And he's done that, and that work ethic is why he has the job that he does. And so I'm sick of the lack of work ethic on the part of some people, and it's not all. Matthew, my kids, your kids, Dan, there are kids that are taught work ethic, but many kids don't have that work ethic. And one of them was a producer here on this very morning show when Michelle Smallman was here. It was during the pandemic, and this kid, he gets upset. He goes home, gets upset, because his girlfriend was crying because he wasn't spending enough time with her. And so he calls our boss, Tommy Mattern, and says, hey, I can't do this anymore. My girlfriend is really upset, and I'm not going to be able to do this job in the morning. Tommy said, okay, well, great. Yeah, thanks for the 2 weeks notice. Oh, he said, no, I'm not giving you 2 weeks. I'm quitting today, right now. And so Michelle...
That day.
Yeah.
That day he says, I'm out.
I'm out. So we had to have a new producer the next morning. And we wound up, obviously, with a producer the next morning. So this is during the pandemic. And I was playing golf, and I was playing golf at Fox Run. And I'm on the 13th hole. And Michelle calls me right as I'm teeing off on the 13th hole and tells me this story about this kid. And I'm pissed. Damn kids these days. And so I put out, and I'm mad because of this kid's work ethic. And then I put out, and there's a long drive from 13 to 14 at Fox Run. And I think to myself, you know what? Here I am. It's a beautiful day. I'm playing golf at a beautiful golf course. And I'm mad about this kid who's really not making my show a whole lot better. I said, man, every problem I have is a first world problem. And I just relaxed. And I said, you know what? I'm not going to worry about that kid not having a strong work ethic. But Dan, to my point, I'm sick of people, not just young people. I'm sick of people that don't have a strong work ethic.
I am too. That does not apply for my kids. They work hard. Hopefully that continues. I said to my daughter last night, I asked her, I said, do you still live here? She's never home. Mm-hmm. She's working out. She's playing golf. She's taking extra classes at school. She's working hard to try to get a college scholarship. I'm very proud of her. But the majority of kids that I see today, they don't want to work. And it's not get off my lawn. It's true.
Right.
You know, it's just true.
Yep. And by the way, I mentioned Patrick. Shout out to Katie, who's probably listening, driving on her way to work at Royal Banks of Missouri. So she's a hard worker, too, and does great work.
All right. I'm sick of the Kelseys. I know this may be an unpopular opinion. We went through the Taylor Swift stuff, then the Super Bowl, then the retirement speech, crying in a podcast yesterday. I'm just sick of the Kelseys. Go away for a little bit. And I like them both, but I just need a little break.
Okay, well, Dan, I've got something for you then. I can give you a little break, okay?
Why does Danny Mac hate man tears so much, Randy?
I told you I cry a lot.
Travis Kelce headed to Singapore for a Swiftie concert. He is going away for a little while.
And Jason Kelce, I would think, is not going away because he's going to get TV opportunities, which he should. Yeah. I don't know if you saw this, guys, the other day, but Bill Belichick may join up with the Manning cast. So you got personality with a guy who has a nice play going to the right.
You know what, though? Dan Dierdorf says that when he was away from coaching and away from microphones, now this will be on microphone, but he said Bill Belichick, Dan said, Dierdorf, that Belichick was one of his favorite people. He said, I don't have anything bad to say about Bill Belichick's personality. Maybe he'll open up if he's not coaching somewhere.
I do think when he speaks, he garners a lot of attention. It's not like just some coach that bounced from job to job and now he's made TV his ultimate job. I watched College Game Day, and he was on the set for Army Navy. I thought he was very interesting. I thought he was pretty good. I thought he showed some personality because he coached at Navy. And so I thought, all right, this works. You know, he's not bad, but still, I don't know.
We're on to Cincinnati.
I mean, that would be riveting television right there.
Yeah. Matthew, what do we have on the text line? Matthew Rocc.
Right out of the gate, we have, I'm sick of no one admitting that it was okay for City to lose in Houston. It freed up their schedule, and it got their lineup set.
I'll admit it. Yeah, we weren't going to win that CONCACAF Champions Cup anyway. Right? So if you aren't going to win the whole thing, then, get ready for it. It's no biggie.
Are you over it?
I'm over it, yeah.
Yeah, I'm over it, too. All right.
I'm over the Kansas City, the Kansas loss.
Oh, the Kansas City loss last year in the playoffs?
I'm over it already, yeah. I'm on to Cincinnati.
Sick of trying to find 55 a partner. It's been 5 years. Make it somebody else's problem.
Jay Bo, we hardly knew you.
Yeah.
This is an Uncle Randy type thing.
It is. Now, would I have liked to have seen the Blues get Sanheim? Yes. Would I have liked to have seen the Blues get a guy like Hannafin. Yes. Is Chikrin going to get moved? Maybe. Chikrin and Parayko are basically the same guy, and Chikrin's only 25. I think that's what people tend to forget. They say, oh, Chikrin sucks. He's 25 years old, and yes, he's been around a while, but it takes some time for defensemen especially to marinate. Dan, you watched Chris Pronger's whole career. He got really good quickly, but man, his first couple of years in Hartford and then here, he really struggled. It's hard. It might be the hardest position in hockey to play is defense. And so what you need for Parayko is a guy that's a little bit more seasoned. And it's been hard, but I think Parayko's had a great year.
I do too. I think he's flown under the radar. He played 27 minutes the other night.
Yeah.
2 days ago or 2 nights ago, he played 27 minutes. You were talking about Chris Pronger. I had a chance to visit with him probably about a month and a half ago. And I said, what was it like playing for Keenan? Now that you reflect, now that you look at what he put you through. And he said, I have no problems with Mike Keenan. He said, you know what? Play better.
Yeah.
I love it when guys just say, play better. I should have played better, and then he would have been off my ass.
Yeah, there were guys. Twister didn't mind playing for Keenan at all. There were some guys that couldn't take it because Mike pushed hard, and he didn't have a great bedside manner. But if you were coachable and you could take hard coaching and mind games, then you were fine. And nobody handles. I wonder. It'll be interesting to find out what Prongs did to mind game Keenan right back.
Right, played well probably.
Yeah, Keenan was the one that Hull shot the puck at him and he shot the puck right back.
Q.
Right?
No, that was
Q.
Quenville.
Okay, my bad.
618, by the way, says, I teach middle school. If you think the current generation of employees had bad work ethic, just wait. I blame the parents for not teaching them. Parents don't want to parent. They just want to be friends with their kids. Sick of it.
Okay, good. Sick of it.
All right.
You don't have to just instill a good work ethic. Sometimes you just have to instill fear. That's where my work ethic comes from. It's entirely fear-based
wrong with
work
that?
ethic.
Yeah.
I my entire life, I've been terrified of being homeless and being like a burden on other people. And so I work really hard so that never happens. That's essentially the fire under me the
you don't
majority
want to be
of time.
homeless.
That's literally what it comes down to. My work ethic is 100% fear-based. Well, there's a little passion in there.
And this is not to cast aspersions, but Matthew, you're 31, 32? 32. Do you have any friends your age that still live with their parents? Or do you know of anybody?
Not
because there
anymore.
are some people that are 30, 31, 32 that still live with them.
I don't know anybody who still does that.
That's good.
We have two things that people are sick of Missouri. One of them is they're sick of the weather. It's been cold, warm, cold, warm, cold, warm. Pick one.
Yeah, I think
but preferably warm.
Preferably warm. I think I'm sick.
I'm sick of it.
Yeah,
I think that's a good one.
Sick of it. Yeah.
The other one was I'm sick of living in a state, living right next to a state that has legalized gambling.
You live next to 7 of them.
Yes.
It's of the 8 states bordering Missouri, 7 of them have legalized gambling and are getting revenue from Missourians. Missourians are driving across the border. Don't fool yourselves, government people, into thinking that just because your state doesn't have legalized gambling that your constituents aren't gambling. They are. They're just sending their money and their tax revenue to another state.
38 states have legalized gambling. 38. I think it's just a matter of time here in Missouri. You get the tax push with it. You get some money coming into the state. I prefer it to be legalized gambling. I don't know if you guys do, but you might as well just do it. It's coming anyway.
And I have my concerns about what it can do to people. But at the same time, like I said, if you're going to mess up your life, all you have to do is drive to Illinois.
But literally, people place bets, and the minute that they go over
the bridge,
the border of Illinois and Missouri, it pops.
You get a ping.
You get a ping, and all of a sudden, your bet is placed.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm sick of not being able to do that.
Me too. That's a good text. Thank you, Matthew.
You're welcome, Randy.
And thank you very much for your texts. Coming up, the Battlehawks getting ready to get going, and their wide receiver, Hakeem Butler, is going to join us next here on the opening drive. Dan and Randy, Brooke is out for her bachelorette party, so it's Dan, Randy, and Matthew here on the opening drive on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. Your St. Louis Blues are back in action tonight, facing off against the Devils. It's a 6 p.m. puck drop. You can catch the game right here on 101 ESPN, starting with a 5 p.m. pregame. Also, more Blues talk coming up here at 8 o'clock as St. Louis Blues Senator Robert Thomas joins Randy and Danny. Also coming up later today, the Cardinals back in action after a day off in Florida. They face off against the Astros with a 12:05 first pitch. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find your roads and shop 24/7 at londoff.com and londoffautoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
Hey, you can tackle your 3-1-4-day plans with the Battlehawks next Thursday, March 14th at Ballpark Village. Celebrate all things STL with the free 3-1-4-day Battlehawks Town Hall event with head coach Anthony Beckton. The Battlehawks brass, Brooke Grimsley, will be the MC. The event is free to attend and will feature fan-favorite activities, ticket giveaways, exclusive merchandise, live music, and more. Plus, the Fast Lane is going to be broadcasting live from 2 to 6, courtesy of Sumner One. Get all the details now at 101ESPN.com. And one of our favorite Battlehawks last year is back this year. Wide receiver Hakeem Butler had 51 catches for 599 yards and 8 touchdowns. And Hakeem joins us now on the Celebrity Line on 101 ESPN. Good morning, sir. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm doing well. How you guys doing?
Everything's good. How's training camp going so far?
Training camp is fun, honestly. Just to be back with the team. We got a lot of returning guys, and really just the excitement is brewing, and we look good, moving fast. We know the offense, so super excited, super fun.
It's just about 3+ weeks for training camp. How long does it take to get in sync offensively with your QB and just in general trying to get in sync?
Day 2, we was in sync. I mean, from here on out, it's just we're really just kind of clicking even more. But I would say day 2, we look like we hadn't missed a step.
Hey, Hakeem, it's really interesting to me that here we have kind of a new league, the UFL rather than the XFL. And like you said, a lot of the same guys are back. Your wide receiver room is something, though. What's it like to be out on the field and in the room with these guys? And who should we be keeping an eye on besides Hakeem Butler? We know to keep an eye on you, but who are some of the other receivers that we should be watching?
Well, overall, the room, as it was last year, is like super stacked. Last year, I thought we had one of the best receiver rooms I've ever been in, whether it's college, NFL, or the league, or this league. And I feel the same way this year. We added a lot of guys from other teams, and we added some young guys. And Darius Shepard is a guy, like he's a dog. Marcel, Stevie Mitchell, PZ, Blake. We have so many guys. I truly think you just can't take your eyes off anybody. Like we're going to be very tough to guard.
Hakeem, what have you told your teammates that have not played in St. Louis? What's it like in this league to play in St. Louis?
Well, that's the thing. A lot of people don't really understand because we got some dudes coming from college and couple dudes coming from Seattle, and they got to see it a little bit, and I'm just like, you don't really understand. It's like that every single game. St. Louis really wanted football, and we gave them football, and they responded like I did not expect and never before seen, honestly.
And the Battlehawks have been selling that upper level for several months now. So you have a chance to have a really big crowd for the opener, and obviously you guys open on the road. But how much are you looking forward to getting this thing started again?
Oh, I'm so excited. Truthfully, I'd never expected St. Louis to show me what they showed us last year, where they were just at every game. Streamers and just all blue everywhere. It was beautiful. And I'm ready to get there and play right now, truthfully.
Hakeem, you played with the Panthers, the Eagles, the BC Lions, Edmonton Elks, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Give our fans here in St. Louis the quality of the league and how close it is for some of these guys like yourself to make that jump to the NFL.
I would say, especially now with the leagues merging, it kind of brings the talent last year in the XFL was really good just because there were so many guys that needed that extra shot and opportunity. No matter what happened, you just always need the extra opportunity. And now, it's very comparable to the NFL. It's definitely better than Canadian football, but very comparable to the NFL.
And it's got to be cool to have A.J. McCarron back. He was so good for you guys last year. Goes to the NFL, and I don't know what the situation was with Cincinnati, but he asked for his release so that he could come back to the Battlehawks. That says a lot about the franchise and about A.J., doesn't it?
Yeah, I think well, I mean, he talked the very first day just saying, like, what he wanted out of this league, and he just wanted to contribute to other people's success and lift others up. And I think that's just a testament to his character, and I think it's a testament to also, like, the fans in St. Louis and just the team overall. You don't leave a franchise like the Bengals to come back to St. Louis for no reason.
Absolutely. We love talking to Coach Beck. He's always fired up when he comes on the airwaves. So we'll ask you, what's he like to play for, and what's he like behind the scenes?
Oh, I mean, I honestly told everybody, all of my friends and family, like, I wouldn't have come back to this league if it weren't for Coach Beck. Coach Beck gave me a shot that not many other people in my life have given me, truthfully, and I'm forever grateful for him. And the way he coaches and just trusts his guys to lead from the front and just, be next to him, and it's just open door policy and open communication. You do not get that anywhere, truthfully.
And Hakeem, you attended Iowa State. Coach Beck's son is the current quarterback at Iowa State. Do you ever talk Iowa State football with the coach?
Oh, 24/7. I went to a couple games. And he was there, and we definitely bonded over the wins and the losses and just the love for the program that he has now. Even though he went to West Virginia, he only wears Iowa State stuff, so he's one of us now.
Cool, good.
So you're not that far away from NIL and all that stuff. Do you ever go, like, in your own family, or do you sit yourself and you go, you know what, man, I could have made a lot of money doing NIL?
I do, truthfully. I say it all the time, me and my friends, a lot of my teammates, just because, we missed out on that opportunity. But I also think, the success that we had as players laid the groundwork for what the kids get today. So, I mean, it's bittersweet, but, can't look back, always looking forward. That's how I live.
Hey, Hakeem, I got a couple more things for you. Number one, for fans that might not be aware of it, the defensive MVP of the league, the XFL last year, is now on the Battlehawks. Pita, and I hope I get the name right, Tamopinu. He's a linebacker from Utah. Have you had a chance to catch what Pita is capable of, whether it was last year in games or this year in camp? What's he like?
Pita is a great dude. He just always has a smile on his face and loves ball, and that's the kind of people that I really love to just be around. Like, I love dogs just around me, like, all the time, just pushing each other to get better. And I think he's constantly doing that in practice, just pushing guys to get better, and he has a good spirit. So I'm ready to see him get to work.
This league is unique in the fact that the teams are together, training camp essentially together. What is that like for a guy that went through NFL training camps in different places where it's separated from other teams and now you're together?
I would say I told the guys this year that the thing about this league, it gave more of a college feel just because all the guys were together in the same city, so close in the same hotel last year for 3, 4, 5 months. So, you're living with the guys, seeing them every day. There's not a moment you really don't spend with your teammates, truthfully. So that's why I felt like it's such a camaraderie. You want to play for the man next to you, which makes things a lot more fun and also just a lot easier to play for that man. And so it's definitely better than a lot of training camps. And I'm constantly reiterating to guys that it's a competition, but we're all doing it together. So we just got to stick together.
Finally, Hakeem Butler, you guys open up at Michigan on Saturday, March 30th. It is a 3:00 game here, St. Louis time, and it'll be on Fox. But how close is your team to being ready? You mentioned that the offense, the receivers kind of have things going. What about your team as a group?
As a group, we're truthfully still getting into shape. We look amazing, of course. I'm gonna always say that, and the defense looks amazing as well. But we just put pads on for the 4th or 5th time. We got to tackle a little bit more. Just brush up the edges. Just make things look a little bit prettier, and then we'll be ready to show and go out there and do what we do.
Hey, can't wait to see you guys here in town on April 6th against Arlington. Tickets are still available, and we've got a big celebration here. You heard it at the beginning, the 314 day over at Ballpark Village. So people are fired up about the Battlehawks, Hakeem. Thanks so much for taking the time with us today.
Thank you for having me. I wish I can go to the 314 day, but I want you guys to fill the dome and honestly just be excited as we are for St. Louis football.
We'll do it. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
That's Hakeem Butler. And I think Brian Stull and the staff should bring Hakeem for 314 Day. I think they should get him up on the stage.
Yeah, he was great. And, you're in a league right now, Randy, where you need promotion. Let's be honest. Yep. You need promotion in all the different entities and cities that you deal with. When you get players on like this, you say, I want to go support this guy. And the league is pretty good. The competition is very good. You've been down there. You've seen it. Yeah. Paint a picture for fans that haven't been there. What is it like? What do you do?
The intensity level is like it was when the Rams were good. Now, is it as loud? No, because the biggest crowd we've had is about 40,000. But the most passionate football fans in our region are going to Battlehawks games, and they are all in. And the atmosphere is fantastic. When you see the atmosphere at City SC, it's a different atmosphere, but the intensity of the atmosphere at the Battlehawks games, because of the hardcore nature of the fans, it's great. And I say hardcore in the best way possible. You can take your family to a Battlehawks game, and everybody's having a great time.
Now, I'll paint a picture for the Carricker family. They get tickets formerly with the Rams, and you had a tailgate.
Yes.
And you would make that tailgate a theme of the team that was coming in town. So, for instance, clam chowder when San Francisco, the 49ers were coming to town. Do you do the same thing for the Battlehawks?
Well, Arlington is in town on April 6th. So, yeah, I think that there's a chance that we could do some Texas barbecue or something like that for that. And you look at some of the other home games, Memphis barbecue, that'd be delicious on April 20th.
It's a lot of barbecue.
It is, but there's nothing wrong with that. Then we've got Houston at home, and our other home game is against D.C. So we'll have to work on that. But, yes, I am absolutely a tailgate aficionado, and that's another thing. Some people like tailgating more than the games. And the tailgating for the Battlehawks is far and away the best in the XFL.
And those fans go nuts.
They do. They're great.
Yeah, pretty cool.
You can still get tickets. Just Google Battlehawks, and you can get tickets for that opener. Man, they theoretically could sell every single ticket in the house. They could sell 66,000, which would be unbelievable.
You think they could get 66,000?
We got a.
Well, they opened up the upper deck.
They did, yeah. And we've got 2.8 million people in the area, and a lot of people are coming from Cardinal country, a 100-mile radius or more. So, yeah, I could absolutely see that place being full, which would really send a message to every football person in America, the XFL fans, and most importantly, the NFL.
All right, I'm going to your tailgate. I'm in.
All right.
I haven't been to a game yet, so I'm coming down.
We'll do that. Arlington, it's a 7 o'clock start, by the way, against Arlington on April 6th. Coming up, get your text in for Take It or Leave It, 314-399-9646, 314-399. Yo-ho! Got Matthew on my side here.
Yeah, you got Matthew. That's enough.
Take It or Leave It is next on 101 ESPN.
Hey, it's a Thursday, Danny Mac for Stewart's American Mortgage. If you're someone who is looking to purchase a home, refinance, or if you're looking to consolidate some of that ugly credit card debt, maybe you don't know exactly what direction to go to in any of these things. Well, let me make it easy for you. Call Stewie from Stewart's American Mortgage. He will help you every step of the way. If it is a new home you're looking to purchase, he will get you to the closing table fast. How fast? 10 days. He'll get you the best interest rate possible. He also has, as you know, the bagel loan, and that can help you out too. What is the bagel loan? A lot of people ask that. If you borrow $200,000 or more, there's no underwriting fees, no appraisal fees, no title fees, no lender fees, no closing costs. Stewart is your guy. Stewie is there at Stewart's American Mortgage. He makes it easy. Any questions on rates, the industry, the trends, give him a call. Call him directly on his personal cell phone. He will answer, or you can text him, 314-324-4440, 314-324-4440, or Google the Bagel Loan.
NMLS number 226715.
Time for Take It or Leave It.
Want to say something? Want to put it out there? If you like it, you can take it. If you don't, send it right back.
Get your text into 314-399-9646 and give us your Take It or Leave It.
Brought to you by Gloria Lou Realty. Visit GloriaHasTheBuyers.com and start packing.
That's my final offer. Take it or leave it.
Danny Mac, Matthew, and Randy. It is time for TIOLI here on 101 ESPN. And Dan, as you know, I was devastated, as much of America was, on Super Bowl Sunday with the rumors that Larsa Pippen and Marcus Jordan had broken up. Apparently, only rumors, though. According to Black Sports Online, contrary to popular belief, there's no truth to the rumors suggesting a breakup between Larsa and Marcus. The couple continues to showcase a strong bond in public appearances and social media posts. And now Larsa has toured a $25 million mansion in Miami, and buzz around town is that she and Marcus are moving in together. Take it or leave it, this would make the world right.
I'm going to leave that.
Oh, man.
Yeah, I'm not as in tune, though, to this subject as you are, because once a week on Take It or Leave It, you bring this up.
Oh, Larsa and Marcus are my couple, and I just want them to work it out. I want it to work for them because they're just sweetheart kids.
When you go home,
Well,
and I
one of them
know
is.
Joan is listening to the show, does she ever say, "What's your obsession with this?"
No.
She she just goes along with it.
I think you may have misconstrued what happens. I'm not so sure that the first thing occurs. That
She's listening. I got you. All right, take it or leave it. Either Jordan Montgomery or Blake Snell will sign with the Baltimore Orioles, and I say that because their payroll is under $100 million. New ownership, great way to get off to a huge start with that new ownership, and they're going to have a chance to win and win big.
Dan, I'm going to leave that because I think they made their big move when they traded for Corbin Burns. I would love for them to really go for it by signing one of those guys. And they do have a terrific bullpen, by the way, so they would be a team where Blake Snell would fit in. But I just don't see them spending that sort of money on a free agent at this time of year.
And the only thing I'd counter with is that with Corbin Burns, he's a free agent to be. I bet he plays the year out. And can you keep him when he's going to get a contract that's, let's say $150 to $200 million, too rich for their blood, and then they say, okay, we can cover that, though. It'll be expensive, but we'll have Jordan Montgomery or Blake Snell the following year. So you give him a multi-year deal.
I do believe both will wind up in the AL East, though. I'm thinking Montgomery to Boston and Snell to the Yankees.
We're 21 days from opening day, and these guys aren't in a camp.
It's amazing.
They have to be getting anxious.
And if you're a team, why bid against yourself? If you're the Red Sox and Boris hasn't accepted the offer, and sure, he said, yeah, 4 teams are interested. Well, say, okay, this is our price. You can either take this price or leave it. Which is this segment, by the way.
Take it or leave it. I get it. I can't believe, though, after the injury news with the Red Sox that Montgomery isn't there. And you mentioned how his wife is working in the city of Boston. It would just seem the right place to go.
Right. But teams they're on to Boris, and he might say, yeah, I got another team offering this. Say, well, okay, go take that then, because this is our price.
Some people are saying collusion. I don't buy into that. I buy into the fact that teams are looking what you might do, and analytics would tell you at their age and wear and tear, it's not worth the money.
This is analytics at its core. This is placing a price tag on every single player via their performance. All right, Matthew, what do we got on the text line?
Take it or leave it. The Cardinals just underperformed last year. This year, they're going to have a top 5 offense. Take it or leave it.
Oh, this is a good one. Guys, I'm going to leave it. I don't think they'll have a top 5 offense, but I do believe...
Would it be top 5 in the National League or just overall in baseball?
Well, maybe top 5 in the National League.
Top 5 National League.
Yeah.
Okay.
They were 19th overall in baseball, and they were top 10 in the National League last year. My concern is injuries. I believe their offense would have been much better had Brendan Donovan stayed healthy for the whole year. If the group is healthy, I think that Jordan Walker will continue to ascend. I believe that Arenado will bounce back. I think Goldschmidt will still be good. I don't know about when. I think Contreras, we know what Contreras is as an offensive performer. And then the big key is going to be, what is Lars Nootbaar?
Yeah.
If Lars it sounds strange to say he's the key between them being good and great, but if Nootbaar is what they expect him to be, they can be a great offense. And that would, to me, be top 5 in the National League.
So the Cardinals offense last year, 19th in runs per game, so just over 4. The outfield has to be better. They hit a combined 246 with a 329 on base percentage. That was 19, and they were 19th in OPS. One of the concerns I would have is the age of Nolan Arenado. Is it a downturn or just a one-off? He's 33. He'll turn 33 in April, I should say. Paul Goldschmidt, 36 years old. Mason Wynn, you don't know about him. And Tommy Edman hit 185 as a center fielder. Now, I do think that Jordan Walker is going to be better in his second year, but those are some of the things, fellas, I'd be a little concerned about heading into 2024.
And by the way, last year, the Cardinals, let's see, the number 5 team in the National League in runs scored 783. The Cardinals scored 719. So they have a lot of scoring to make up to get to a top 5 status in the league.
You know who we don't talk about ever, it seems like, is Wilson Contreras.
I take for granted that he's going to be fine.
He had 363 plate appearances as a catcher. His OPS was 878. When he DH'd, he had 127 plate appearances, 677 OPS. Sometimes guys just aren't a DH. And that'll be something to watch as Herrera is going to get some time. And he's starting to come into his own, is how much they use Wilson Contreras as a catcher. Sometimes guys are just better by playing on both sides, defense and offense.
Sometimes it's hard to stay engaged in the game and focused if you aren't playing the field. All right, what do we got next, Matthew?
Take it or leave it. After hearing the Nootbaar extension talk, Ray Langford would have made $30 million a year in today's day and age.
Oh, this is good. You know, Dan, I'm not so sure that that's too far off. I don't know about $30 million a year.
I don't think 30, but certainly over 20.
Yeah, because
God, yeah.
What's
I mean, when he was 29, from 27, starting his 27-year-old season in 1994. His OPS plus is 121, 130, 124, 159, 143, 118, 117, 120. That's through his age 33 season when St. Louis trades him. Yeah, he gets $25 million a year easy.
I still think it's depending on the length of the deal. So I'm not going 25, although in that day and age, when you hit 33, you weren't considered out of your prime.
No, but just drop a left-handed hitter that did what he did. And Tony still insists, Tony La Russa, that Ray didn't get the most out of his ability. But if you drop that hitter and fielder into today's game, it's a pretty substantial contract as a left-handed power guy.
Take it or leave it. The one play you think about most with Ray Langford is Darren Dalton at the plate.
100%.
And I think that kind of you overlooked just how good he was.
Yep.
And maybe it's a little bit because of that play. That may be too extreme. But when I think of Ray Langford, I think very good player. But I think of Darren Dalton. It's the first thing that comes to mind with me.
And I was with Brian Jordan one time when we were talking about that play. He said, "Hey, do a YouTube search for Brian Jordan, Gary Bennett."
I was just going to say that. I was just going to say that.
As great as Ray blowing up Dalton was, and we miss this in baseball, Brian Jordan blowing up Gary Bennett was epic. And so Bennett tries to go back behind the plate because he wants to stay in there, and literally he's in his crouch and he just falls backwards.
I think he tore his knee.
Yeah, he was out for 6 weeks, I think, and he had a bad concussion.
I was down at fantasy camp, and those two were there, and I said to both of them, "You guys get along okay?" He said, "Yeah, great." Both said great. I said, "You talk about the play?" Never. And we never talk about that collision, ever.
Thank you, Matthew.
You're welcome, Randy.
Coming up, Robert Thomas will join us from the Northeast, where the Blues will take on the New Jersey Devils tonight. You'll hear it here on 101 ESPN. Pregame at 5, action at 6. Robert Thomas coming your way on 101 ESPN.
Time now for Blues forward Robert Thomas on the opening drive.
Driven by Pure Performance, the only stop for all your aftermarket vehicle needs.
Dan McLaughlin, Randy Carricker with you here on 101 ESPN. Brooke Grimsley out for her bachelorette party. And we head to the Northeast, and the Blues take on the Devils tonight. We have a 5 o'clock pregame here on 101 ESPN, 6 o'clock with the face-off. And Robert Thomas, kind enough to join us as he does every week. Robert, good morning. How you doing?
Doing well, guys. Thanks.
What'd you do with your off day in New York?
Not much. I had family in town, so I got to see them. They're checking out all 3 of the New York games, so they're pretty excited, and went to a little comedy show, so it was pretty funny.
As we know, the trade deadline is tomorrow. What's it like approaching a trade deadline? Now, you're not going anywhere, but maybe some teammates might be going, and you're looking at the news in the league. What's it like from a player's perspective to watch what's happening in the National Hockey League?
Yeah, just as a fan, it's exciting. I was actually talking with my dad yesterday about how every year as a kid I'd always be begging him to stay at home and watch Trade Center and watch the whole deadline day. So, it's kind of exciting seeing things happen. Obviously, you don't want to lose your teammates and be in that situation, so that part of it sucks. You want to be in a position where you're adding players, but I guess we'll see what happens, and but just as a fan, it's pretty exciting, hearing all the rumors and then seeing the trades happen.
And Robert, it can be jarring for a player. If you can you paint the picture of a couple of years ago when you guys were on the plane and you guys found out that Sonny and Jake Wallman had been traded? Where were you sitting, and what was that like when they took those 2 guys off the plane?
Yeah, I actually wasn't on the plane that one. I wasn't there for that, but I remember finding out. It's tough. Seeing some of your buddies get traded is always tough, and personally, it sucks seeing guys leave. A lot of times you don't get to see them for long periods of time after they get traded. So that part of it sucks, but everyone understands the business side of it and kind of what goes into everything. So it's kind of like a give and take thing.
Do teammates talk about this, or is it kind of like, nah, we're not going to talk about it because, as you said, it could suck. Some teammates could be on the way out. Do guys talk much about it?
Yeah. Everyone kind of has a feel of what could happen. So you get a sense of it. And, guys, especially right now, we have a long road trip over the deadline. So there's some big suitcases for some guys. So you kind of have an idea, what could happen. And so I would say, you have a sense.
Hey, Robert, you had a storied international career, great junior career, obviously now 6 years in the NHL. I was just wondering, do you ever play a team where you don't know a guy on the opposition?
Very few. That's what, it's been a lot of fun lately. Last couple of years, you get into year 5 and year 6, and you get a good sense of most people in the league and get to know a bunch of them off the ice. So it's always fun going up against them.
What have you done as you watch those players to change your game, if at all, and say, boy, that's something I need to pick up on. I'm not doing that, or maybe I'm doing too much of this. What are some of the things in your game that when you're watching those players that you pick up on?
There's millions of things, I think. The game changes so much year to year. Whatever team wins, every team kind of copies their system and tries to play like them. So you kind of just watch and find different things that work against the system. I think a lot of it I found this year was power play and how teams are scoring. And just because the PK completely changed, a lot of teams went to Vegas as PK. So struggled with that early, but found a way to kind of adapt. And same thing goes for 5-on-5. The more you kind of watch and can learn from teams that are having a lot of success, then you'll find success.
Hey, Robert, coaches always talk about how we need to find our game. We need to find our game early. We know what our game looks like. When you guys have played well this season, I think we can all agree it's been rather inconsistent, but when you guys are playing your game, what do you think it looks like?
For me, it's puck possession. I think, when we're holding on to pucks and we're making plays, we're not giving teams the blue line, the red line. We're playing tight and physical. We're not a team that's going to blow up everyone, but when you're on top of guys and, not giving them time and space, I think it's really effective. And, we're a team that can score a lot off the rush. So that comes from creating turnovers and playing good defense. And obviously Binner and Hof have been awesome all year long for us, and they're a huge part of our success.
And as you know, Robert, when you guys won the Cup, it was wave after wave after wave. When you're going to play that style that you just described to us, everybody's got to be on board, don't they? You can't have people taking nights off, because if you're going to play with that sort of pressure against the opposition, everybody's got to be doing the same thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what good teams have, and teams that win is depth, and it's line after line. That's the key to success long term. You can get away with stuff short term, but in the long run, that's how you win.
I love watching Torbchenko play. It's like he's shot out of a cannon. What's it like when you guys are watching him on the ice?
Yeah, he's got great speed. He's physical. It's nice to see him getting some confidence in scoring. I think that's kind of the next part of his game to continue to go on. Is you look at that 2-on-1 goal, pulling up and shooting, like that's a beauty goal. And he had the sick one in Montreal earlier this year. So I think the confidence is coming for him, and it's really important because he's a big part of our future.
Okay, Robert, I don't want to bury the lead here with the comedy show. Was this a comedian that you'd ever heard of before, and how was this comedian?
It was like one of those little like comedy clubs. So there's 5 or 6 comedians, and you just sit there, and there's a couple pretty good ones, that's for sure. They all tend to be radio inappropriate jokes, but but they it was pretty funny. It was with my parents and aunt and uncle, and we had a blast. Are
you a guy that likes to hit comedy clubs? Do you ever go to Funny Bone or Helium here?
I haven't in St. Louis, but I've been trying to make a better effort of it on the road. I think it's pretty good. I remember going with 5 or 6 guys earlier in the year, and when you go with 5 guys wearing black clothes, you tend to get picked on pretty hard in the comedy club. So it's been fun.
When you saw Kessel make a debut and Bolduc makes a debut, and you're one of the leaders now on this team, do you pull them aside and tell them a little bit about what the NHL is about, or do you kind of let them get their feet wet on their own?
Yeah, I think it's important just when you're kind of getting going to just enjoy the moment. You only get your first couple of games in the NHL once, and it's important to really just enjoy the experience. When you come up for the first time, you don't really have any pressure on you, so you're just trying to enjoy it and feel it out, and I think that's really important in a development curve.
Robert, a couple more quick things. Number one, 6 points right now out of the final wild card spot. Would you suggest that this is a time for urgency for the Blues? Is it desperation time?
Yeah, I think it's definitely desperation time. I don't think it's the end of the world time where a loss and you're done. But I think we're still in a spot where we can control our own destiny. I think that's important. We don't have to sit there and scoreboard watch. We're at a time where we can control our fate, and I think that's an important message to get across to everyone that we're in control of this, and we got a chance.
You now have had a few months with Drew Bannister as your head coach. Are you getting a pretty good feel of what he's like? Yeah. You kind of pick up on him, on guys after a couple weeks. So we got a pretty good feel of what he's like.
And finally, we're going to leave Toronto out of this as a favorite place to play on the road because that's obvious for you. But you've got a game at Madison Square Garden. You've got a game at Boston coming up. And I'm just assuming that you like playing in those places. What's your favorite road rink to play in, aside from Toronto?
Yeah, it's definitely MSG by far. So I'm excited for that Saturday.
Good. We'll have fun. We'll be tuned in. And, of course, we'll have the games here on 101 ESPN tonight. Robert, always good to hear your voice. Thank you so much, and enjoy the rest of the trip.
Yep. Thanks, guys.
Thank you. That is Robert Thomas.
Have you been to MSG?
No.
It's interesting. It's really cool. I mean, when you walk in there, there's just a sense of history. Mm-hmm. You know, there's certain buildings, certain stadiums, and you kind of go in there and you hear about it, the smell of it. It's a little older, those kind of things. It's got a unique feel to it.
It's called the Mecca for a reason, right?
That's true. That's true.
And so many great sporting events and so many great concerts there. Billy Joel is wrapping up his residency there in the spring.
Once a month, right?
Yeah, he's been doing it once a month, but he's retiring from it.
Yeah. I wish I would have gone and seen him. I messed up.
That's the one. That after the Super Bowl that was there, that was non-sporting events for me, but the Billy Joel at Madison Square Garden, pretty good.
Yeah, I should have done it.
That's Dan. I'm Randy. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, we've got our fresh take. Okay, here is your charge, and you need to be texting, and if you're driving, well, it's just where you are right now. But you get a player to give you an at-bat in a World Series. You get a quarterback to give you a 2-point conversion or an overtime touchdown in a Super Bowl. You get a penalty shot to win a Stanley Cup and a jumper to win the NBA Finals. And we're going to give you our guys next here on 101 ESPN. Hey, if you've never used Metro, I want you to know about Metro. I've used it a lot. Back when I worked downtown, I used to use it quite often to get downtown. When I use the Metro Link, I park at the Clayton station and to take it downtown. And even now, for games, man, you can avoid the traffic. You can avoid the parking hassle. You can avoid the expensive parking by taking Metro Link down to games. And it's such a key for our area. Beyond the sports, Metro is vital to the viability of our area to attract Fortune 500 companies. The Metro system has been great, and public transportation is imperative. And if you already like the Metro, you'll love it once you know what a difference it makes in all of our communities. It really does have a difference-making effect. And think about the quantifiable positive difference Metro makes on both sides of the river. If you are somebody who's never used Metro, there are lots of reasons to recommend it to others. And there's a lot of people that do use it, and we need it, and it's great for our area. Don't let preconceived notions hold you back. Give Metro a chance and experience the benefits for yourself. In short, thanks to Metro, you don't have to drive to thrive.
The day's top stories. It's the Opening Drive's Fresh Take.
All right, it is time for a Fresh Take here on 101 ESPN, and we're going to come with hot takes for you here. You get a player to win a World Series for you, an at-bat to win a World Series, Dan. You also get a quarterback to provide you either a two-point conversion to win a Super Bowl or a touchdown to win a Super Bowl in overtime. It's a quarterback, though. A penalty shot to win a Stanley Cup, and a jumper to win the NBA Finals. And there are so many players to choose from in history. And, Dan, I'm going to let you go first.
Okay, so I went a little different way with this. And just see what you think. I went with current, and then I went with historic figures, too. Is that okay?
That's great, yeah.
All right, currently with an at-bat to win it, I go Ohtani. I mean, he'd be my guy. He's hitting bombs everywhere. Tough to get out, so he'd be my guy. All time, I'd put Reggie Jackson and Big Papi.
Oh, good. Big Papi's a great call.
Big Papi with what he did against the Yankees. He was, well, what he did against the Cardinals.
Yep.
That was tough to watch. Maybe don't pitch to him.
Don't pitch to him, yeah.
Don't pitch to him. Just walk him. Okay, so that's my first go-around. So should you go around now, or we just go back and forth here?
Let's do all four at once. So you go with your next guy.
Yeah, two-point conversion. I'm going Jalen Hurts.
Oh, good call.
Because of the Eagles just pushing up front, I think that would be it. And then I went with, if I could just get 2 yards, period, I went with Jim Brown and Christian Okoye.
Okay, yeah. Right.
I love Christian Okoye. All right, penalty shot. I bet a lot of people say this. After what happened in the Olympics, I'm going TJ Oshie.
Yeah.
TJ Oshie would be my guy.
TJ Soshi.
That he was. And then all time, I'd go Mario Lemieux. When he came back, and the only reason I'm saying this, when he came back from his cancer diagnosis and scored that first goal, it's one of the great moments in sports that doesn't get talked about. It was awesome. And then for a jumper, I went Steph Curry, current. And then I went with Michael Jordan to win it because he's done it so many times. He's just been great down the stretch, had the final shot against Utah, so I was going with MJ. So that's my group.
Okay, good. Matthew, you want to get going with yours?
Actually,
you want me to go?
Actually, no. I want to throw in a texters here really quickly because they jumped on this one quickly.
Good.
Jumper, they're taking Michael Jordan. I get that 2-point conversion. They're going with Michael Vick. I actually really like that.
Yeah.
World Series at bat. They're going with Albert Pujols, and for that Stanley Cup penalty shot, they're taking Wayne Gretzky.
Yep.
Little chalk there, but I like it.
Yep.
Let's hear yours, Randy.
For my at bat to win a World Series, I'm going to take a guy who's done it against Mariano Rivera. I'm going to go with Luis Gonzalez because I've got apples to apples there.
That's a good one. one. That is a good one.
I don't know if this is recency bias, but I don't think I can do any better than Mahomes to provide the 2-point conversion or the Super Bowl to win the Super Bowl. I was like you with Oshie and Lemieux, but you don't want to try that old drop pass with Gretzky on the ice either.
The old backhand,
which Gretzky performed. I'm with the texter. Those three, you can't go wrong. To me, it's amazing that we are saying T.J. Oshie in the same breath as Lemieux and Gretzky, but for that particular task, I put them in the same breath. And then for me, I think most people are going to go with Jordan to win a championship. I don't think enough people are going to say LeBron, but the one guy that, if I can't have one of the greatest players of all time, if I'm on a budget and I'm up against the cap, I'm taking Robert Ory to win a championship.
That's a pretty good one. Yeah.
I like that one. You could make one that's like non-greats, and it would be Big Shot Bob for the shot in the championship, TJ Oshie for the Stanley Cup penalty shot. You already picked the one for the last at bat in the World Series because he did it already against one of the greatest relievers of all time. And then 2-point conversion in the Super Bowl. I think that's the only one where there's not like a one that jumps out as like a non-famous QB who'd be like your absolute go-to, except for, like you said, like a Jalen Hurts, because you have the cheat code of the brotherly shove or the tush push, however you want to call it. I'm going to go a little bit different chalk. Here's my thing. One play, I want a quarterback who's going to figure out the defense. So I'm going to take Peyton Manning. I know it's a little cheap, but you give me one play, the guy's going to figure it out. You got to give him a 40-second shot clock. He's going to figure out what the defense is doing. I'm taking Peyton Manning. I love the David Ortiz idea because I still have nightmares because he did it twice to me, because there's 2 different times in my life where I became fearful of David Ortiz hitting a lot of balls in World Series, and both of them still haunt me for the rest of my days. So I'm going with David Ortiz. I love the idea of TJ Oshie. I'll never forget where I was watching that Olympics happen. It just Oshie. It was magical. And again, jumper to win the NBA Finals. Again, it's Jordan with a bullet because he did it in college and he did it multiple times in the NBA. But I'm with you. Big Shot Bob, I'm going cheap. And I'll take LeBron James just because people don't realize it. You break down actual clutch numbers, and he's the best clutch player over the last 25 years in the NBA.
If he asked this question in Seattle, they'd say, Marshawn Lynch.
Yes.
Give him the ball.
Give him the ball.
Give him the ball.
And you know what? Interestingly, in Seattle, they'd probably take Ray Allen to take that basketball shot,
That's
too.
a good point. That's a really good point. By the way, kind of off topic here, Tim McCarver taught me so much baseball when we were doing games together, and one of the great first guesses ever in sports by an analyst in this World Series is on the line, and he says, I would play Jeter back because when you have a left-handed bat and the kind of cutter that Mariano Rivera does, a lot of times you get little bloops into left field, and man, was he right. What a great first guess by Tim McCarver. I got goosebumps thinking about it.
Yeah, it's a great call. It's there on YouTube, and it was an amazing first guess. And it was the next pitch, right? Or maybe 2 pitches later that Gonzalez delivered the game-winning hit, which was one of the most, for me, stunning moments in World Series history, that Rivera, of all people, allowed the opposition to beat him at the end.
I think the other one, too, that comes to mind is St. Louis native Billy Miller with a base hit up the middle against Rivera when they're down 3-0.
Right.
With the Boston Red Sox.
Yeah, amazing.
Got a couple different ones. Somebody said Sergei Fedorov for the penalty shot, and they said Ray Allen for a jumper to win a championship, and they're going with Kurt Warner for the 2-point conversion.
Well, the thing about Kurt, last time he touched the ball in Super Bowl 34 was when Isaac scored the touchdown. Last time he touched the ball in Super Bowl 36, he threw the touchdown pass to Prohl to tie the game. Last time he touched the ball in Super Bowl 43 was the Larry Fitzgerald touchdown pass to give his team the lead, and then Roethlisberger comes back and leads the drive with Santonio Holmes scoring the touchdown. So in Kurt's 3 Super Bowls, the last time he touched the ball, he led drives to either tie or give his team the lead.
2 things. Did we overlook, when it comes to the baseball one, did we overlook Pete Rose and Tony Gwynn, just considering the chances that you're going to
put
get
the bat
hit
on the ball?
Yep.
And for quarterbacks, he never threw a pick in a Super Bowl. Joe Montana.
Right.
He's not gonna give it up to the other team, at least.
Right.
Well, if somebody said the at bat and said Stan the man, you'd have no argument with that too.
No, or Joe DiMaggio, who never struck out. I mean, Joe DiMaggio had virtually as many home runs as he had strikeouts in his career.
That's right.
And he won 9 championships and played 11 seasons, I think, because the middle 3 get knocked out for World War II. So, I mean, the guy
Ted Williams would then be another one.
Yeah, that's another great one.
I mean, Ted Williams, he missed time because of his service to our country.
And isn't it amazing that he never won a World Series?
It's incredible.
You know, that's it's pretty sad, actually.
It is.
Kind of a cold situation in life.
This was fun.
It is.
I like doing this. And I'm not letting you go down that road, so we're just going to move on to our guest at 8:30 or something.
At 9:30, why don't we take your mic drops with the 101 ESPN app, and we'll get more texts because we do want to hear your opinions on this. So what we want, an at-bat to win a World Series, a 2-point conversion to win a Super Bowl, a penalty shot to win a Stanley Cup, and a jumper to win the NBA Finals. You can leave us a mic drop or send us more texts, and we'll come back and do this again at 9:30.
Can I give one more very quickly?
Yeah.
In today's day and age, I would have gone David Freese, and not because of what he did in 11. That's part of it, but he was a tough out when the game was on the line, whether he's with the Pittsburgh Pirates or at the end with the Dodgers. I mean, this guy was tough to get out. David Freese would be another one I'd put up there.
Great call. Coming up, we've got the fight. Do we need a fighter today, Matthew? Yes, we do. All right. All you need to do is text in then. 314-399-9646. 314-399-YO-HO with your name and the word fight. And perhaps Matthew will pick you to fight me next here on 101 ESPN.
It's time for a DraftKings at Casino Queen Redbird report on 101 ESPN.
I'm Randy Carricker. After the Cardinals put 5 up on the board against the Twins on Tuesday, they had their off day yesterday, and today they'll take on the Houston Astros down in Florida. The Cardinals will start Kyle Gibson. He'll be followed by Matthew Liberatore, and Christian Javier will go for the Astros. The Redbirds 4-5 trying to get on a roll down in Florida as they take on the Houston Astros today.
The Redbird Report is presented by DraftKings at Casino Queen. Play, stay, dine at DraftKings at Casino Queen.
This is Rocc with your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling. Your Blues back in action tonight, 6 p.m. puck drop, which means you can catch the pregame show right here on 101 ESPN starting at 5 p.m. You want to hear more Blues talk? You can go back to the Dobbs Tire and Auto Centers podcast, as Randy and Danny talked it over with St. Louis Blues center Robert Thomas earlier. Coming up later in the show, 9:15, NHL Network insider Mike Kelly joins the show to talk trade deadline in the NHL. And Cardinals back in action today, facing off against the Astros, 12:05 first pitch. That is your Sports Center update, brought to you by Saliga Heating and Cooling, an independent American Standard heating and air conditioning dealer.
Welcome to the fight. In the red corner, Average Joe Listener. And in the blue corner, the undisputed king of morning drive. Please welcome Randy Carricker.
With Matthew Rocchio, I'm Dan McLaughlin. Randy is out of the studio. Brooke is on a little vacation. It is 8:36 here in St. Louis. That means it's time for the fight, and our fighter today is Ben. Ben, good morning. How are you?
Good morning. Doing good, Dan. How are you?
I'm doing well. Have you ever taken on Randy, or have you ever been in the on the fast lane in the gauntlet?
I never have. This is my first time.
All right, let's do it. Are you ready to go?
Yeah, let's do it.
All right, question one. Happy birthday to Ricky Prohl. Which NFC West team drafted Prohl? Was it the Seahawks, the Cardinals, or the 49ers?
I believe that was the Cardinals.
Is that your final answer?
That is my final answer.
All right, on to question two.
Only two Big Four league franchises have won more than 20 championships. The Yankees and who else? Is that the Canadiens, the Celtics, or the Lakers?
I'm going to go with the Canadiens.
All right, on to question three. Between their two stints at Sportsman's Park, where did the Cardinals play their home games? Robinson Field, Rickey Stadium, Ricketts Park.
I'm going to go with Ricketts Park.
All right, on to question four we go.
What was the name of the other NHL team in Montreal which won a cup in the 30s before folding? Was it the Jets, the Moose, or the Maroons?
I am going to go with the Jets.
All right, Danny Mac is going to go get Randy Carricker, who's waiting patiently. How do you think you did today, Ben?
As Mo would say, not great.
Not. I need to have the drop pulled up and ready when I ask people how they did on the fight. Well, Ben, you didn't do too badly, but we'll see how Randy Carricker does. He's back in studio. Randy, did you have a snack today?
I did. I had grapes.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
Sorry, Ben.
And I've got my Propel.
All right, well, grapes and Propel. It sounds like Randy Carricker is ready. Randy, before we get into the questions, say hi to Ben.
Ben, good morning. Thanks for listening. Thanks for playing. How you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you, Randy?
Doing well. Are you here in St. Louis?
I'm over on the Illinois side. I'm in Alton.
Is it cloudy in Alton? It's cloudy here in Creve Coeur.
Yeah, it's cloudy here, too.
Okay, good. Enjoy your day, and thank you very much again for playing.
No problem.
You should take a look at the moon here. You know what I'm talking about.
Wish you could see it in St. Louis.
All right. Happy birthday to Ricky Prohl. By the way, looked it up. He's 56.
Yeah, my guy.
Ricky Prohl is 56. All right, Randy, which NFC West team drafted Prohl?
He was a member of the Arizona Cardinals before he went to the Chicago Bears and then the St. Louis Rams and then Carolina Panthers, Indianapolis Colts, and then Seattle Seahawks, I think.
Rocc, question two.
Only two Big Four league franchises have won more than 20 championships. The Yankees and who else?
The Montreal Canadiens.
Question three. Between their two stints at Sportsman's Park, where did the Cardinals play their home games?
Between their two stints at the old Grand and Dodier ballpark. I really don't know. I didn't know that there was a break there, so I'll do the lifeline.
Robinson Field, Rickey Stadium, or Ricketts Park?
I will go with Robinson Field.
All right, Randy. What was the name of the other NHL team in Montreal which won a cup in the 30s before folding?
The Maroons, I believe.
Final answer, Randy?
Final answer.
All right, we
All right,
have
Rocc.
a winner in today's fight. You think the fans can tell what happened?
Not at all.
Okay, we have a winner in today's fight. Do you think Ben was able to take down Randy Carricker, who's coming off a loss earlier in the week, or was Megamind back in his groove on this Thursday? Ring that bell.
Go crazy, folks! Go crazy! The winner and still champion of the fight, Randy Carricker.
Just win, baby. Sorry, Ben. You heard Mr. Buch, and that means that he hit the jack. Randy Carricker beat you 4-2 today.
Okay, well, Randy, it's been a pleasure playing you. Thanks again.
Thank you very much. We appreciate you checking in.
Thanks for checking in, Ben. Well, let's go through the questions and answers. Happy birthday to Ricky Prohl. He was drafted by the Phoenix Cardinals. He then went to the Seattle Seahawks. Then he was the Bears, and then he came to the Rams. I had not realized until I stumbled upon this. I did not know he was 30 his first year with the Rams already. I had not realized that he had that many years already in the league.
And Mike Jones and Ricky were the first two free agents that Dick Vermeil brought in.
Ah, that makes a lot of sense. Only two Big Four league franchises have more than 20 championships. It's the Yankees and the Canadiens. Of course, the Celtics and Lakers are tied currently at 17 apiece, the next closest.
So one time, we're down at the Super Bowl, and we interview Snoop, who walks in with a coat with all of the patches from all of the Lakers championships. And DeMarco says, "Nice jacket." And Snoop says, at that time, I think it was 15 world championships.
That's amazing.
Now, how was he on the interview?
He was awesome. Snoop is the nicest guy in the world.
I love
fun
Snoop.
and funny. Yeah.
So the Cardinals played from Sportsman's Park from 1882 to 1892. Then they went to Robinson Field until 1919, and then from Sportsman's Park from 1920 till 1966. And the other NHL team in Montreal, they actually won 2 cups, 25 and 30. It is, in fact, the Montreal Maroons. Here's a fascinating thing about the NHL. The Maroons are the only team to win a Stanley Cup and then either move or fold. Every other team that has moved, there's 4 teams, I believe, that have moved and won a cup after moving, but
never
not before.
Interesting.
Which is fascinating to me because, as you know, here in St. Louis, we've won a couple championships and lost teams.
Yeah. That happened in Oakland, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yep. So it does happen.
One of the things the Canadians do, and I think they did it last week, but they have their old timers game, if you will. I mean, they got guys coming out that are 80 years old back on skates and wearing like the ski cap, you know, and it's like old school. I think that's one of the great things that they do in sports.
It's really great. Yeah.
I wish we had an old time. We used to have an old timers game down at Busch Stadium.
Right. I think the Yankees are the only team in baseball now that does an old timers game.
Wouldn't you enjoy that?
Oh man, it'd be great.
I know Bob Gibson hit somebody.
Terry Poole.
That's who it was.
Oh, it was the best.
Was it a retribution for something that happened in their playing career?
No, it happened. It happened. And he actually did it twice. So, but Poole hit a home run off him in the first inning down in Houston. I think Bob was 58 at the time. And so Poole comes up again in the third inning at the age of 58, and they had the Jugs gun. It was called the Jugs gun at the time, and Gibby hit him at the age of 58 with an 89-mile-an-hour heater to the hip.
Nolan Ryan came out to throw first pitch and hit like 82, and he was, 65 years old or something like that. It's crazy.
Now, another guy that Gibson, Pete Lecoq.
That's the one I was thinking of.
Yeah, hit for the Cubs, right? Hit a home run.
Yep.
And it was Bob's last game. I think it might have been Gibby's last game. Might have been his last pitch as a major leaguer. And then they had an old-timers game at Wrigley, and Gibson hit Lecoq because, just because.
Those were the days, man. You just wish there was a little bit more of that in Major League Baseball now.
Man. Yeah.
Old school stuff.
That was as good as it got. Okay, the Cardinals are a week into spring training games, a week and a half, but we feel like we can pretty much put together a bullpen right now. We're going to do that for you next here on 101 ESPN. On this Friday Eve, how about a trip to the Fenton Bar and Grill? Whether it's for a great lunch or their spectacular happy hour, or maybe you want to enjoy a nice meal tonight during the Blues game, Fenton Bar and Grill has you all set. They have great people that are serving you. If you stop by during lunch hour, say hi to Kelly and Alicia and Megan and the crew. They're so much fun, and the place is all about sports. You have wonderful people with wonderful food, but at its core, you're going to have a bunch of sports fans that are there talking sports with you and enjoying yourself. I was so thrilled last week when I was walking in and a guy was walking out and he said, "Randy Carricker?" And I said, "Yep." He said, "Hey, I'm here because of you, and I want you to go to Fenton Bar and Grill as well because you'll love the people there. It's great camaraderie, and when you try their trashed wings, you're going to have the best trashed wings that you ever had. That are the best trashed wings not only in America, but I think we can argue in the world. Have them with their signature golden sauce or maybe some ranch. Have those wings to set up a fabulous meal. Great salads, great wraps. Great burgers at the Fenton Bar and Grill. Learn more at FentonBarandGrill.com. And when you go, tell them Randy sent you. The Cardinals will open their season at the end of the month in L.A., and then they'll go to San Diego before coming home. And while the Cardinals are pitching a lot of different pitchers during spring training, my opinion, Dan, I don't know if you agree with this, but there are only a couple of jobs that might be available now. They might not be available as well. But let's start with this. I think there are at least 5 locks in the Cardinal bullpen, and this is presuming that Sonny Gray is on the roster. So there will be other things we can talk about with Sonny Gray on the IL. But I have Helsley, Gallegos, Kittredge, Middleton, and Romero as absolute locks for the bullpen. Do you agree? And do you have another one? Do you have another lock?
No, that's good for me.
Okay, good. So they're going to have 8 relief pitchers. Liberatore, if and when Gray is healthy, 6 starter / reliever. So that leaves 2 spots. Who do you have as your last 2?
I think they give Andre Palante a shot to start the season. I would put Riley O'Brien as my other guy.
I've got Riley O'Brien in there as well. And I am looking, because Palante has options, and I think the Cardinals are going to be unemotional about this. One of the guys that they've given the most run to so far is Ryan Fernandez, who was a Rule 5 choice from Boston, so they would have to keep him on the roster. He's got a 2.25 ERA. He's struck out 5 and walked only 1 in his 4 innings of work. he has the swing and miss stuff. Just because he's a Rule 5, I have him beating out Palante.
It's a good one. I mean, you don't want to lose him. And if you feel that he can be a piece to the puzzle, not only this season, but moving forward, I think you keep him and give him some run. And as you said, Andre Palante has got options. Boy, those options can be nasty on a player. They just go up and down, and you may see that. So we put, I got Zach Thompson in the rotation.
I do too.
I got Liberatore being the swingman, so that'll change potentially as the season goes forward, especially if they have a 6-man rotation. But I'm with you, 8-man bullpen going into the season.
Now, presuming they put Sonny Gray on the IL at the beginning, and rather than being a swingman, Liberatore is in the rotation, that opens up another spot. I know that last year they liked John King down the stretch after they got him, but he's been awful so far this spring. I don't think he's doing enough to make the team. I think, Dan, if right now, based on what I see, I would go with Palante as my 8th guy if Gray is on the IL.
He would be my guy, and the reason why is when he's right, he's got the reverse splits. Mm-hmm. He can be very good against lefties. The left side of the bullpen, it's a crapshoot every year with bullpens anyway. Guys having down, good example would be Gallegos. He was not where he was the previous years, and you're not sure what you're going to get. I like the bullpen, but I would be concerned a little bit with Kittredge getting back to form, and there's no reason to think that he won't. Riley O'Brien with limited experience, that would concern me a little bit. Can Romero get back to where he was? Prior to last year, there was ups and downs with him, and that's something I think about. So the left side of my bullpen I'd be a little concerned about, and can I get some of these relievers back to form in years previous?
And the other guy that we haven't really touched on, and I just don't know if the Cardinals are going to get anything out of the one of the other pitchers that they got last year at the trade deadline, and they have so much hope for. Well, they like Drew Rom, but he's another guy that they gave starts to, and they think could be a bullpen guy. I don't know if he's a guy that. I think you're better off starting him at Memphis.
I do, too. I wonder if they're more inclined to take some of these guys and stretch them out because of the age of the rotation. Now, there's some that say, they're going to be fine. I think you knock on wood and you hope that these guys in their mid-30s are going to be able to stay healthy. But this is sports in a nutshell. You get to your mid-30s, you're going to deal with some injuries, which would then lead me to say, I'm going to stretch some guys out that maybe normally would be in my bullpen, but I got to have them ready just in case.
Now, you and I are both big proponents of getting guys ready with a year in the bullpen. I believe that would be a good thing for the Cardinals to do during the season when a spot opens up, and it inevitably will, for both Gordon Graceffo and Tekoa Roby. The approach they took with, and this is the one we used because he was such a stud in the postseason, but the Adam Wainwright approach was perfect. Get a guy's feet wet before he enters the starting rotation as a reliever.
I also think there's something to being in that bullpen, and Jason Isringhausen is down there taking you under his wing and saying, okay, here's what it's like. This is now go think about this situation. What's your mindset? You know you're going to face X, Y, and Z. What is your mindset with these 3 guys? How are you approaching that situation? This is what we do on the road. This is how we act as a big leaguer instead of just being inserted into a starting rotation where there is a lot of pressure. And I'm not saying there's not a lot of pressure as a bullpen guy. Don't get me wrong. There is. You're a young guy. You're just getting your feet wet in Major League Baseball. But there is something to starting in the bullpen. I truly believe that.
And having a guy like Kittredge down there, I think, is huge. Now, Kittredge's approach in getting off the bus, and this is what we do on the road, is going to be pretty dramatically different than Izzy's approach for what we did on the road. But but you just need those guys.
Age settles you down, Randy. Age settles you down.
I know. But you just having that guy that teaches you how to be a pro on and off the field, because we've both traveled with baseball teams. It's a different world. And you come up from the minors. BT always told the story about how when he got off the bus the first time in New York, his first road trip, he went to his bag, and Jimmy Edmonds said, "What are you doing?" And he said, well, I'm getting my bag. And Jimmy said, well, we're in the majors now. You don't have to carry your bag anymore.
Sure.
Just things like that people need to be taught.
BT's first start, they're throwing it around the infield after he finishes warming up, and he kind of is going towards third base, and Scott Rowland is there. And I'm paraphrasing, but he flipped in the ball. Rowland flipped it to BT and said, boy, there's a lot more people and a lot more stands here. So a lot more decks, levels of this ballpark, aren't there?
Pretty big crowd, huh?
Pretty big crowd. Go get them. I love that. I think that stuff is great.
Yeah, I do too. So that bullpen, and so the only difference that you and I really have is we both have O'Brien, right? So I have Fernandez, you have Palante. Helsley, Gallegos, Kittredge, Middleton, Romero, Liberatore in there. I don't know that it really matters what Matthew Liberatore does. Maybe if he's just horrific for the rest of spring training, but I would think that he's in there.
I do too, especially if you go to that six-man rotation, he would make a start. This is interesting here. The 618 says, completely disagree. Pitchers are a creature of habit. You take guys that have always been starters, change their routine, then expect them to snap back to being a starter. It's failed more than it worked for the Cardinals. And I think what we're talking about is that we're taking starters, putting them in the bullpen, and that's where they're at for the entire year. So we're not changing the habits of them. They're going to have to learn how to warm up quickly, but that's something that you learn throughout the year and not moving them to the rotation, kind of like what happened with Zach Thompson.
That's the name I was going to bring up. And their initial plan was to have him pitch the whole year in the bullpen, and then things changed. Matthew, did you want to weigh in here? Did you have something to say?
Yeah, I'm a little surprised we haven't Keenan Middleton's name hasn't popped up at all in the discussion.
He's a lock.
He's in. He's a lock.
Kittredge, Middleton, Romero.
Oh, okay. He was between Kittredge and Romero. I had it written down, and I was like, why? Well, I feel like we're not, because my big thing for him is God. He was dominant with the Yankees in the second half, and I'm on the Amzinger train of just I'm ignoring things that happened with the Chicago White Sox last year. So I'm throwing out the first half, and if he can give you just 70% of what he was for the Yankees in the second half of the season, I mean, he's going to be a crucial part.
Have you seen his changeup?
Yeah, pretty nasty,
it is
huh?
Filthy.
Yeah.
Filthy stuff. And I think if you get him and Kittredge and a healthy Helsley, who missed 2.5 months, and if Gallegos, I know it's a lot of ifs, and Gallegos bounces back, that's the strength of your bullpen. Those four guys can really help you out. So if starters only go and give you 6, you're going to have a rotation of 4. Helsley, you probably don't go back-to-back very often, but that bullpen could be nasty and help you win a lot of games.
And they do have arms. We don't know how good the arms are going to be, but they have, in their desire to go swing and miss, they have a lot of people that throw really, really hard down there.
Yeah, and Fernandez is interesting. O'Reilly is really interesting to me. He's got swing and miss stuff, Randy, and the key with him will be whether or not he can throw strikes. You get to the big league level, things change after spring training. You put a lot of pressure on yourself. Can you throw strikes? And if you can do that, he's going to have success at this level.
That's Dan. I'm Randy. Coming up here on 101 ESPN, we've got our Rush Hour Reset. It's coming your way on 101 ESPN.
You're still playing daily fantasy and you want to change things up? I suggest Underdog Fantasy's newest Pick'em product, active now in Missouri, Pick'em Champions. That's right, a Pick'em game you can play right now in Missouri. It's so easy. You just pick 2 to 5 players from at least 2 different teams, select higher or lower on the player's stat projections. You pick your entry fee, and then you're entered alongside other underdogs. As long as you hit your picks, you are going to be cashing out. Speaking of hitting your picks, we were so close yesterday on our NBA entry. Unfortunately, Jonathan Kuminga had 26 points, assists, and rebounds. We were on him for higher or lower, than 25.5. So just barely missed it. So we're going to keep chopping away at that block. We're going to go with another NBA play tonight. You can add Blues plays to this if you want. Again, cross sports, multiple entries, whatever you want to do. I'm going to go with Jalen Duran higher than points and rebounds, 23.5. Domantas Sabonis going up against Wemby tonight, but I'm going to go lower on his points, assists, and rebounds at 44.5. And Tyrese Halliburton, a Pacers favorite, higher than 21.5 points and rebounds there. And again, you can add some bonuses later. You can add some Blues picks if you want to onto that entry. You're just going to jack up amount of money that you can potentially win. Underdog, super easy to play and even easier to get started. You go to the easy-to-use mobile app or to UnderdogFantasy.com, sign up with promo code ROCC, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. Plus, they'll give you a mystery special pick to use on that first pickup entry. That's Underdog Fantasy, promo code ROCC to get your first deposit of $10 or more, up to $100, match plus your special pick. Must be 18 plus and present in the state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concern with your play. Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Visit www.ncbgambling.org.
It is 9:02 in St. Louis. Your time check brought to you by Clarkson Jewelers, an officially licensed Rolex jeweler. Danny Mack and Randy Carricker, along with Matthew Rocchio. Brooke Grimsley is out. She is headed off to her bachelorette party this weekend. So hopefully she'll be back on Monday. You just never know. It's, she's
You may just say the hell with it. I'm staying here.
Yeah, I think that has happened. Well, we were just telling a story earlier about oh, that kind of happened. So we've got Blues hockey tonight here on 101 ESPN. The Blues at Jersey, and the Devils just fired their head coach, Lindy Ruff, so they'll be probably getting the new head coach bump. 5 o'clock pregame, 6 o'clock faceoff here on 101 ESPN.
Loved your question to Robert Thomas. Does the team feel it's desperation time? I think anybody that's listening and a hockey fan to this show is saying, yeah, it's desperation time. I think you would agree with me. Matthew would agree with me. This is desperation time. It'll be interesting what the Blues do. What they do with Buchnevich, some of the others, Scandella, would be of value, I think, to some teams. And you know what? Are you better off just playing some of these young guys as they come up to fill and stopgap of what's going on? Or do you just say, you know what? We're done with it. We're moving on and look forward to 2025?
I would not be heartbroken if the Blues would decide, you know what, it's just not going to happen this year. But I don't think there is an awful lot to do. And I think everybody now that needed a winger has gotten one. I don't know that there's going to be much of a market for Buchnevich now with the Golden Knights getting Middlestat, with Tarasenko going to the Panthers. Colorado got their guy. So I don't know that there's going to be much of a market at this point for Pavel Buchnevich.
Correct me if I'm wrong. I mentioned the UFAs, roughly $7 to $8 million coming off the books, and there's been some reports that Doug Armstrong is willing to eat just a little bit of the Buchnevich contract to get back what he wants. I don't know, Randy, if you agree. I got to get 2 number ones back, and if I'm retooling, you want to call it a rebuild, whatever you want to call it, Yeah, I'm sick of the difference between the two. It means you're probably not getting into the Stanley Cup playoffs.
Yeah.
Is it better just to say goodbye to Buchnevich and get your number ones, or do you feel like, hey, we got a shot if we keep them? Top line is pretty good, and we have a shot to get in the playoffs.
My concern is next season, because I'm not counting on Snuggerud being a top 6 guy next year. I'm not counting on Dvorsky being a top 6 guy if he's here at the beginning of the year. I don't think you can count on Bolduc or Dean, because rookies just don't do that. Robert Thomas was a third-line guy as a rookie. He's a really good player right now. So I have difficulty thinking about how the Blues would assemble a representative top 6 next year if Buchnevich isn't a part of the list.
I feel that Doug is going to pull the trigger on deals, and I bet the Blues are active. I could be completely wrong, but knowing his history and his willingness to part ways with players, and you know what? It's a tough business, and he's been willing to do that. My gut is he's going to wait this thing out till the final hour, and then you're going to see some movement with the Blues.
Some of the rumors today, Pierre LeBrun reporting that there are still 6 to 7 teams interested in Pittsburgh's Jake Gensel. He said Vegas, Carolina, Florida, and Vancouver are in the mix to varying degrees. The Carolina offer would be prospects-based, and the Panthers, if they would get him, would need the price to soften because they did get Vladimir Tarasenko yesterday. Darren Dreger reporting that Washington is shopping Joel Edmondson. The former Blue has Toronto, Tampa, and Boston, among others, interested in him. And let's see, then we just go back to the trades that were made yesterday. And the biggest one, Noah Hannafin, going from Calgary to the Golden Knights. And so another big-time defenseman, Shea Theodore, Alex Pietrangelo, and Alec Martinez already in Vegas, and now they add Noah Hannafin. They've got quite a top 4 there.
But no, when you have Alex Pietrangelo making that kind of money and he has a no-movement clause, you can't. It just ties up your money too much, Randy. You can't build a team around that.
This is true. This is true. It helps to have Mark Stone on long-term IR, and he'll show up for the first game of the playoffs. It's a pretty good way to do it, actually.
314 says, everybody says first-rounders aren't worth it, but if we are in the hunt for the playoffs next year, we could trade a first-rounder to get competitive. Yeah, that's true. I think if you trade Buchnevich, you're looking at a tougher rebuild for the immediate. And Doug's saying we're being realistic, and we're not going to get in potentially next year. We're close this year, but if you get rid of Buchnevich and you don't add something to next year, you're just loading up picks and saying we're going for it in probably 26, 27.
Yep, or later.
Or later, for sure.
How many teams have...
I'm with you, Randy. You're right.
Been doing it for 30 years.
Yeah, right.
You know, it's how often can you try to rebuild? And it's... Sure, it worked for Colorado. Has it ever worked for Vancouver? No. It's really hard. Florida tried it, the Panthers, and finally they traded for a bunch of guys, and that's how they got back to the Stanley Cup Finals. It's really hard in the NHL, unless you finish with the worst record in the league and get a couple of top picks, like if you get a Crosby or a Malkin, or if you get an Ovi and a John Carlson. If you get those players high in the draft, then you can get it. But you also need to get the right year to be terrible.
If that's the case, then, and you think if you're not going to get your stars, from some random top 5 pick, but you have stars coming up, though, in Dvorsky and Snuggerud, and I'm blanking on the other name. You already have neighbors up here. So
Kessel, Bolduc, you can say those two guys.
Do the Blues then need to shift the fact that their championship window starts 3 years from now?
Well, that's what we're saying.
Yeah. I mean, that's the big. But I'm saying is, I think at that point you can't call it a. You can't call it a
retool.
You can't call it a retool for 3 years.
Oh no, then it's a rebuild.
Yeah.
You're where Chicago is.
Are you okay as a fan? I'd be curious on the text line. Are you okay as a fan with a rebuild, having missed the last 2 years of the playoffs? Going to be iffy this year. Next year would be iffy, I think, as well. 3 to 4 years out of the playoffs, not easy. That's tough to swallow as a fan base.
It is, and I look at it from this perspective. If you make that decision to rebuild, and you think, okay, I'm not going to be in the playoffs for 3 years. I'm going to draft, I'm going to develop, and I'm going to be bad, and I'm going to have high draft choices. What's the point of having Jordan Binnington on your team?
You kind of sussed out what I was going for. So, you can think, well, Thomas can be our key guy 3 years from now. He's going to be in his prime there. But then you have to start evaluating what other big contracts will be here as part of the team in 3 years.
I think
it's a pretty
Thomas
short list.
Is elite right now.
Yep.
I do. I don't know if this might be the prime of his career for many years to come. I think he's just had a fabulous year. 5-on-5, the Blues are in the bottom 5 of the NHL. Now, the top line is pretty good for the Blues, but set him up with some elite winger. Man, this guy could put up some big numbers, and he's going to put up big numbers this year without having some of the top players that you talk about in the game today. We haven't even mentioned the name of Jordan Kyrou. I wonder what the appetite is for some teams out there that are looking to maybe add a guy that's got scoring punch. And if the Blues say our appetite is to move him or not.
You know how some coaches and general managers are. They'll say, he scored 37 goals and had 73 points last year at the age of 24. I can fix him.
Yeah.
So I don't know what the overall league value will be because they watch the way he plays, but there will be somebody that thinks that they have the key to unlock the talents of Jordan Kyrou. I don't know if you'll get a ton for him, but there will be teams out there, I would think, that, and it'll take a new general manager with a team that has cap space and an owner willing to spend, where the general manager goes, hey, you know what? We should spend this 8 times $56 million over 7 years on this guy. But I can see during the offseason something like that happening.
Okay, 314 says, I'm definitely okay with a retool. There's retool and rebuild, but I think this is more rebuild. We saw what it was like in 2019 to win the Stanley Cup, and it takes time to build a solid team. That's what you have to do to become a champion.
Well, the Blues were awesome from 2012 when Ken Hitchcock got here through 2020. So that didn't take time. You were in the hunt every single year. You were in the conference finals in 2016, had the most points in the West, I believe, in 2012. So I disagree that it takes time. It took time for the Blues to get to that point. Yes, it took time, but it wasn't like we were watching bad hockey. We were watching great hockey.
See, I'm okay with them trading guys.
Yeah, me too.
I'm fine with it because you're going to be mediocre at best next year anyway. You might as well get the picks and see if you can't develop them.
Got to find a centerpiece player. At the end of the day, you need to find a centerpiece player somewhere. All right, that's your Rush Hour Reset here on 101 ESPN. Coming up, we're going to talk to NHL Network insider Mike Kelly. He's going to join us and talk some trade deadline here on 101 ESPN. Hey, did you know that when you choose Hoffman Brothers for your home services this month, you're not just improving your home, but you're also helping our furry friends at Stray Rescue? That's right. Hoffman Brothers has partnered with Stray Rescue, and for every home service appointment during the month of March, Hoffman Brothers is going to contribute to supporting Stray Rescue's mission of rescuing and caring for stray animals in our community. Whether it's heating repairs, maintenance, installation, plumbing, or electrical services, you can trust Hoffman Brothers to not only take care of your home, but also make a difference in the lives of animals in need. So make your home service appointment today with Hoffman Brothers and join us in supporting Stray Rescue of St. Louis. Visit online at hoffmanbros.com, HOFFMANN, hoffmanbros.com/rescue. Hoffman Brothers, a proud Mitsubishi Electric elite contractor, and they can help you out with your look at your air conditioner for the spring. Make sure that you make your appointment and make sure that your air conditioner is good to go for the spring and summer months in St. Louis. 314-664-3011, 314-664-3011, or make your appointment at hoffmanbros.com. Lachlan, Randy Carricker, the opening drive, 101 ESPN in St. Louis. The NHL trade deadline is tomorrow, and NHL Network will have wall-to-wall coverage, including tomorrow's live NHL trade deadline program with their analyst, Mike Kelly. You can watch Mike with all kinds of analysis, interviews, and updates on NHL Tonight from 2 to 9, actually 1 to 8 St. Louis time. And, of course, the trade deadline coverage tomorrow. Mike Kelly joins us now on the Celebrity Line on 101 ESPN. Mike, thanks so much for your time this morning. How you doing?
Hey, my pleasure, guys. Doing well. We're hoping there's some trades left for trade deadline after yesterday, and we'll see what happens today. And then who's left over for the fun part when you actually get to the deadline.
Which team of the trades that were made yesterday do you think got closest to winning a Stanley Cup with the moves that they made?
Really good question. Look, Colorado comes top of mind. You could say Edmonton as well with Adam Henrique in the addition, just because I think Edmonton is I've got them with Florida as my Stanley Cup favorites. So I really like what Colorado did, though, and they had to get creative to do it. It became apparent, I think recently, certainly, but kind of throughout the year that Ryan Johansson was not going to work as their second-line center. And in order to get a guy that they think can maybe potentially fill that role, they had to get creative, and they bring in Sean Walker on the blue line to get Johansson out and flip Bowen Byram to get the center that they wanted in Casey Middlestat. So, Walker has some of the same elements that Byram does. Both of these guys love jumping up into the rush and are good doing so, and that's how Colorado plays. And they actually were able to save themselves some cap space in the process. So maybe they're not done. Maybe they could take a run at Jake Gensel or another guy that's out there. Maybe they can find a way to try to get Elias Lindholm out of Vancouver, who, the Canucks, I don't want to say they're shopping him, but you look at the reports out there, it seems like they may be open to moving him, which is definitely odd considering they just acquired him, and you don't see that happen too often.
Mm-hmm. Mike,
around the deadline where you bring a guy like him in.
Hey, Mike, how active do you think the St. Louis Blues will be here in the next 24 hours?
I think they should be somewhat active. I mean, the playoffs for the St. Louis Blues, if you're looking at it realistically now, in the model that I use, I have them at 29%. I would say you shouldn't be expecting to make the playoffs. So the big ticket item is obviously Pavel Buchnevich, and you can get a pretty good return for him. I would think a first-round pick and another good pick, or first-round pick and another solid prospect. He's got another year left on his deal. You don't have to move him right now. You could go for it in the offseason if you want to go that route. But that's the most attractive piece, and I think he probably moves.
And with that being the case, if he does move, let's kind of spin it forward, because the Blues roster seems to be kind of devoid of experienced top six guys. Are you confident that they can fill in the top six and reasonably replace Buchnevich heading into 24-25?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, you want to see some progression, hopefully, from guys internally as well. But you're right; it is a little thin there. Like, you love, obviously, Thomas and Kyrou, and we know what Shen is. But Jake Neighbors is kind of taken a step this year as well and shown that he can score. But you're right; they would need to, whether it's through a trade or free agency, probably address that in the offseason. You have time to do it, and there's always guys available that you could put into those spots.
Are teams inquiring at all about Jordan Kyrou?
It's a good question. I'm not sure about that, to be honest. This is just my personal opinion. It would have to, I think, blow the socks off to move a guy like Kyrou, who's had ups and downs, as we know. You can't find talent like the talent that he has very easily. Nobody's untouchable for sure, and there's certainly a list of guys ahead of Kyrou that would be, but I think it'd have to blow the socks off.
You can watch Mike Kelly on NHL Network. I want to touch on a couple of old friends from the St. Louis days. How much does Vladimir Tarasenko have left in the tank as he joins the Panthers?
Well, look, he's not what he once was. He's not what he was when he was in St. Louis. You guys know this, but one of the things that always stood out to me about Tarasenko, obviously the shot, but more than that, one of the best guys coming down the off wing, off the rush, and creating offense that way. And he's still good in that respect. He's not what he used to be, but he can score. He's not going to, get in and forecheck. He's not going to provide much defensively, but he's insulated in Florida on a team that forechecks better than anybody and defends as well as anybody. So I think in a likely situation, you throw him on the second line with Bennett, who's really good defensively, with Tkachuk, who's competent that way. And you're not relying on him to go out and win you games, but he can do that here and there with his scoring ability. So I think it's kind of it's a safe ad and a guy that's going to be pretty well protected, who can, hopefully just add a little bit of scoring punch, which is what they needed. You move Nick Cousins down, slide him in there, and you should be a better team as a result.
And, Mike, I want to preface this by pointing out that you can never have too many good players. But the Vegas Golden Knights already have Pietrangelo. They already have Martinez. They already have Theodore. Are they kind of killing a fly with a sledgehammer with the Hanifin acquisition?
It seems that way sometimes with them, doesn't it? Where you're just like, really, you need this guy too? And look, they'll go out and maybe they get Gensel, and you're like, are you kidding me? Like it just seems like the stuff that they do. But I wonder. Alec Martinez has some injuries. He's certainly an older guy, and man, does he ever play a grueling style of hockey? And maybe this is a bit of protection in a way. But they've got 7 defensemen right now that any team would love to have, and right shot guy, which everybody covets. That top 4 looks just insane. And we know that Vegas's defense was a huge reason why they won the Cup last year. Hanifin's big too. Like their smallest defenseman is 6'1", 210 pounds out of the 7 guys. So then they brought Mantha in too, who's a beast. So they obviously go for size. And I didn't expect that ad, but again, you can't be surprised with anything Vegas does. They could find a way to go get Sidney Crosby, and it wouldn't surprise me that much.
I asked you about Buchnevich and Kyrou. The Blues have some UFAs. Are there any of those guys that you like, a Scandella? Is there anybody else that some teams are looking at from the St. Louis Blues roster?
Well, Scandella would be an interesting one. I think you could kind of see how the type of value he could potentially add for a Stanley Cup contender. And I think, like I said, I think Buchnevich is probably the most likely guy that you would see moved ahead of the deadline, just because of the interesting thing with him is just kind of random, but 1 goal in 20 career playoff games, got a lot of assists, but I wouldn't say that's a concern, just kind of an interesting thing. Potential UFAs, like, I don't know, I wouldn't be that interested in Kapanen, who I know is one. I'm not sure off the top of my head who else is there. Sammy Blais, I think, is a UFA, right?
He is. Yeah, he is. There's not an awful lot to choose from there. There's nobody that is planning on winning a Stanley Cup, Mike, I don't think is going to be interested in these guys except for Buchnevich, and maybe Scandella as a 7th guy.
I'm totally with you on that. I think that's basically it. So that's probably where the asks are going to be coming from. Like, again, I don't know why Kapanen would make sense for a lot of teams that are pushing in this way. So it's probably those 2 guys.
Okay, I want to go back to one team that's not going to make the playoffs because they never do. Last time the Buffalo Sabres made the playoffs was 2011. They traded Ryan O'Reilly here. The Blues win a Stanley Cup. They trade Jack Eichel to Vegas. They win a Stanley Cup. They trade their leading scorer, Casey Middlestat. What is it with that organization, the Sabres? It's not like the players are bad because they're going places and being key performers in winning Stanley Cups. What is it about Buffalo that prevents them not only from winning a cup, but from even making the playoffs?
Oh, I had higher hopes for them this season, and I've learned a lesson that sometimes I say about a team, like, if they just defend a little bit better, then they should have a really good shot. That's a big ask, and a lot of teams can't do it. And Buffalo, they were 3rd in the league in scoring last year. They couldn't defend. They didn't get enough saves. They didn't make the playoffs. They can't score at that rate this year, and that's been a problem. They still can't defend. Their goaltending's been great. UPL, you could argue, has been the best goalie in the league since the calendar flipped to 2024. But they've had a lot of coaches. There's been a lot of turnover in that way. That doesn't make it easy on players. They've had a lot of young guys that are kind of developing really early and trying to be impactful at the NHL level, which is tough sometimes. I'm not sure, the way that they play structurally, it makes me wonder about the coaching a little bit. But again, they've been through so many different guys as well. It just hasn't clicked. And they've got good young pieces, but the right mix isn't there. Their blue line is obviously, a lot of left shot guys, but at the same time, a lot of really good ones when you add Byram. Mm-hmm. What stands out to me now and last year is they really struggled defending, committing to playing good team defense, having a structure to do that, and that's holding them back more than anything else.
Mike, we had an interesting segment yesterday talking about why the NHL goes through so many coaches and so many guys that get fired. It's amazing. It's like 8 or 9 this year. If you could put your finger on it, what are the reasons as to why so many guys in the NHL from the coaching ranks are let go?
I wonder how attractive it is to some managers when they see what you call the coaching bump. Because that's kind of been a real thing this year where a coach has been fired early, enough time to turn a season around, and it's happened. You think about Edmonton and the run they went on. Now, there were a lot of underlying numbers to suggest that, this wasn't a bad team to begin with, but new coach comes in, boom, away they go. We've seen that in a lot of different markets. Like Ottawa was the only one, I think, really, where you didn't kind of see it immediately. And then they had a nice little stretch, but it took them, 12 or 13 games. So I wonder if the coaching bump, if some teams are looking at it like, maybe it's a big problem, maybe it isn't, but this seems to be a real thing, and we can maybe save our season by doing this. That's a best guess at what we've seen, a lot of turnover, like you said, this year. I think every situation is also unique, in its own right, but it's also the easiest thing to do at the end of the day, right? You can't move all the players. The GM's not going to fire himself. So in a lot of situations, it just becomes the easiest thing to do when you know that something has to be done.
Mike, we get to see that tonight when the Blues visit New Jersey. We get to see the coaching bump here. Hey, it's great to hear your voice, and we're looking forward to the next couple of days. You guys do amazing work at NHL Network. Mike, thanks so much for the time. We do appreciate it, and enjoy the deadline.
Thank you so much. You as well, and always enjoy talking to you.
Take care. That's Mike Kelly from NHL Network with us on 101 ESPN.
So Kapanen is a UFA, $3 million. Blay $1 million, Sundqvist $775, Scandella $3.27, Verana $1.75. To your point, Randy, you've been saying this for a month. You'd have to think that Scandella gets moved.
Yeah, you'd. Somebody could use him. He's a winning player when he's healthy, and he appears to be healthy now. He is a player that you can use to win with.
Sundqvist, maybe some value there for a team?
I would think that there would be value there for a team, but I would hope that the Blues would keep him here because, as we learned before, he's hard to replace. And if you have him here and he loves St. Louis, why not just give him an extra year or two? He'll sign here for probably $2.5 million for 2 years.
Yeah.
So why not?
One thing that jumped out to me, did part of that answer about the Sabres as a Blues fan kind of worry you, considering he's saying, well, the big issue there is everyone just says, well, they just defend a little bit better, they'll be a lot better. I'm like, well, that kind of sounds like what we're going to be saying about the Blues over the next year or so. And so that's kind of that answer about the Sabres, just it made me think about the Blues too much for comfort.
And then also what he said about the Vegas defense, with how big they are. And the Blues won the Stanley Cup on the strength of their massive defense, and they just don't have, aside from Parayko, a really big group anymore.
That's what I was thinking of. When he said, boy, they got a lot of size, I'm thinking, man, that sounds like the 2019 St. Louis Blues.
Yeah.
The same thing. Same thing.
Coming up here on 101 ESPN, we asked the question earlier, and we want you to weigh in with mic drops and texts. You get a player to take an at-bat to win a World Series. You get another player. This is to get a 2-point conversion to win a Super Bowl, a penalty shot to win a Stanley Cup, and a jumper to win the NBA Finals. Who are you choosing? Your mic drops and your texts next on 101 ESPN.
This is Rocky with your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff Chevrolet and Johnny Londoff Autoplex. The Blues back in action tonight, facing off against the Devils. It's a 6 p.m. puck drop. You can catch the pregame show right here on 101 ESPN starting at 5 p.m. Your home for the St. Louis Blues. You want to hear more Blues talk, you go to the Dobbs Tire and Auto Center's podcast earlier today. Danny and Randy talked it over with Blues center Robert Thomas, and also you can check out the Dobbs Tire and Auto Center's podcast as we talked it over with NHL Network's Mike Kelly. That is your Sports Center update, driven by Johnny Londoff. Find new roads and shop 24/7 at Londoff.com and LondoffAutoplex.com. Are you kidding me?
All right, we asked the question earlier. You get a player to take an at-bat in a World Series to win a World Series for you. Any player ever. You have an NFL player to provide a 2-point conversion to win a Super Bowl, a penalty shot to win a Stanley Cup, and a jumper to win the NBA Finals. Danny, you had several. You had some currents and some past.
So at bat, I put Ohtani, Reggie Jackson, Big Papi. 2-point conversion, I went with Jalen Hurts, Christian Okoye, and Jim Brown. Penalty shot, I went TJ Oshie and Mario Lemieux. And my jumper, I went Steph Curry and Michael Jordan.
All right. My at-bat to win a World Series was a guy who actually did it, Luis Gonzalez. My 2-point conversion to win a Super Bowl, total recency bias, was Patrick Mahomes. The penalty shot to win a Stanley Cup, the old backhand play from Wayne Gretzky. And then the jumper to win the NBA Finals, Big Game Bob, Robert Horry.
That's a good one. I hadn't thought of that one.
That was one. John is also weighing in with a mic drop here on 101 ESPN.
If I'm going for a hitter, I'm going to go with the Cardinals' own Albert Pujols. If I'm going for 2-point conversion, touchdown, I'm going with Walter Payton, up and over. If you never saw it, YouTube it. He never got the chance. If I'm going with the basketball shot to win, I'm going with Larry Bird. Always came through. And if I'm going for the shot in hockey, I'm going with Mike Eruzione. No one ever hit a bigger shot against a better team than Mike Eruzione.
John, those are awesome. And I was thinking about Bird yesterday. That's a great call on Larry Bird.
Albert always seemed to come through at the right time, didn't he?
Yeah, he did.
I mean, he just had a flair for the dramatic, whether it was the 3-home-run game in Texas, or you think about the Brad Lidge home run. He just had a flair for the dramatic. There's no doubt.
And so many times where you just needed to get a runner home. And he had that great ability, because RBIs were important to Albert as a player. And it wasn't always, even though the home runs were spectacular, but how many times did he just get the base hit to score the run that you needed to win the game?
I hadn't thought about Walter Payton jumping over the top of the line.
Unstoppable. Right?
Unstoppable is right.
One that we keep getting for the football answer is Mike Vick. And I'm just, what does it say about everyone picking Vic, a guy who never actually, he played in one NFC Championship game, I want to say, never actually got a chance to play in a big game, but everyone's saying, listen, I got one chance, I got one play, give me the most athletic player to ever touch a football, maybe.
Yeah, not bad. Our friend Will Witherspoon was on the field, I think he was playing for Carolina, when Michael did the Superman move to score against the Panthers on a Sunday night game. That was incredible.
Have you ever seen the game Virginia Tech against Florida State for the national championship? Yeah. Michael Vick single-handedly almost won the national title for Virginia Tech. That's another game I think about with him.
It's amazing that a guy could do what he did, because it's hard to win a football game single-handedly, but he did it a lot.
He was breaking ankles. Guys are like hurting their knee trying to cut when I was cutting back. He was incredible, and that was on the old turf too, that hard turf. Yep. He just he would plant and go. It was amazing to watch.
Yep.
A lot of Tony Gwynn's. This one, first one I've seen somebody answering Pavel Bure. Talk about being a goalkeeper, being a tender, and having to face like how quick he could just stop and start Bure. That would be an absolute. That's a really good one. He also finishes off with Big Shot Bob for the game winner in the NBA, and Mahomes for my 2-point conversion. I like all those. I'm going to change up part of it here. Let's go to the other side of the World Series. You got one guy to get the strikeout to win you a World Series. Are you bottling up Bob Gibson? Or are you rolling with the best closer ever? Who's it going to be?
And it's interesting, if you're in Game 7 and Bob Gibson, let's say, didn't start Game 7 and you had to go short day's rest, he pitched maybe even the day before. Bob Gibson would be a guy I'd look at, and then somewhat current day would be Mariano Rivera because he had so many opportunities to do what we're talking about.
Right. And the other one who did it was Randy Johnson.
I was just going to say him. Randy, you're stealing my thunder here.
Yeah, just coming out of the pen. And, hey, who was better at striking guys out to win a series than Adam Wainwright?
How about Madison Bumgarner?
Yeah,
Bumgarner was big.
God, those are really good ones.
Yeah.
Might be the best postseason. All due respect to all the postseason pitchers, but hard to imagine that somebody could have been better than Mad Bum. I think his career World Series ERA is something like 0.28.
And especially in this day and age where you never would see that. But you go back to Bruce Bochy being the manager of the Giants. He was willing to roll the dice on some of that.
Yeah.
618 says Mariano Rivera. Enough said. The problem there, though, is he had the chance. It didn't go so well, did it?
Right. But the other, he did it 3 times.
Yeah.
So that was pretty impressive.
If there's one guy to get a strikeout, Nolan Ryan, maybe?
I think that's a pretty good call. Yeah.
Gibby, Randy Johnson, as you mentioned.
Bruce Sutter.
That'd be a good one, too. I guess I'm thinking of like overpowering fastballs and nasty sliders and all that kind of stuff. But yeah, I love these kind of segments. They're fun to talk about.
Yeah, and by the way, Carlton, if you're talking about the overpowering slider, lefty, and then the sweeper.
Sonny Gray sweeper. You never know, Randy.
Sergio Romo.
They wind up getting to Game 7, and Sonny Gray comes out in that 9th inning, and the sweeper is effective.
Oh, there we go.
I think, honestly, Danny Mac has the best answer for this whole game so far. And I think Christian Okoye for the 2-point conversion might be the best answer we've gotten.
Nigerian Nightmare.
God,
he was
such
awesome.
a good one.
He was great. Thank you very much for your texts and your mic drops. We do appreciate it. Coming up, we're going to head down the stretch with an edition of Rock and Roll on this Friday Eve here on 101 ESPN. Hey, we've got more soccer coming your way this season. The season just underway for St. Louis City SC, and you need to learn about the St. Louis City SC debit card from Together Credit Union. You get 10% off food and beverage purchases at all City home matches, 10% off St. Louis City SC retail items at their City Pavilion or inside the stadium, and priority access to purchase tickets to single-game matches. And don't forget, you get that City season ticket waitlist access as well. And Together Credit Union has something great for you. They're offering you a safe and reliable way to grow your hard-earned money. Certificates of deposit or CDs are an attractive investment for new and experienced investors because the return on your investment is fixed and it's guaranteed. And right now, Together Credit Union is offering 2 fantastic CD promotions. Your first CD rate option is an 11-month CD term with a 5.40 annual percentage yield. Your second CD rate option is a 19-month CD term with a 5.00 annual percentage yield. Both options require a minimum balance of $1,000. Go to your nearest Together Credit Union branch or visit togethercu.org today to learn more. Early withdrawal penalties apply and may reduce earnings on the account. Rate offers are accurate as of January 18th, respectively. Rates are subject to change without notice. Other rates and terms are available. Membership eligibility required. Federally insured by the NCUA.
Coast choice for countertops and cabinets.
Dan, Randy, and Matthew, it is the opening drive on 101 ESPN. We've got a little balloon party with T-Mac and Ajax coming up from 10 to 11. And then you've got BK and Ferrario from 11 to 2, and then 2 to 6. It is the fast lane with Anthony and CD. I think that Jamie might be out today, but I'm not positive about that.
2 to 5. Remember
2 to 5,
early pregame.
Blues hockey.
There you go.
Pregame. There we go. It is time for Rock and Roll here on 101 ESPN. Matthew, what do you got for us?
Well, first I'm going to give you guys a little spring training report. John Denton from Jupiter tweeting out and saying about 5 minutes ago, manager Ali Marmol said that right-handed pitcher Sonny Gray was at the team's complex on Wednesday, an off day for the club. For treatment today, he will throw from 60 feet to gauge the pain level he might feel in the quote-unquote mild strain in his right hamstring. The club is encouraged.
Would it not make sense to have him pitch from 60 feet 6 inches?
Just add the 6 inches?
Yeah.
Okay.
I would, because that extra 6 inches might cause you to aggravate this hamstring strain? Why not just figure out what he's going to do during the regular season?
Would you let him throw off a mound, or is he going to be off a flat ground? That would be one of my questions, too.
And he has had this injury in the past, so you just let him handle things at his own pace.
Maybe so.
Oh, there's also another thing from Ali Marmol's availability earlier today from John Denton again on Twitter. You can follow him at John Denton 555. Always great with the Cardinals updates. Tommy Edman will continue to play catch today and take T-swings from the left side of the plate. He was recently shut down after experiencing the pain and the stiffness. Hitting righty is still troublesome for him, is what John Denton is saying.
That
not
is
ideal.
Troublesome. No, not at all.
Not ideal at all. If he could only hit from one side of the plate, although he did try that with certain matchups, he would hit from one side of the plate, but his right side was the one that was the better of the two.
Now, here's a question for you. If you're hitting from the right side of the plate, are you not hitting left-handed?
I've thought of that.
Wait a second. Don't, Randy, you just broke my brain.
Well, if you're say you're the umpire.
You walk to the plate.
You walk to the plate. You hit from the right side. The right side, if you're facing the mound, would be the left-handed hitter.
Yeah.
Okay.
I've actually thought of that, too. But why?
Weird.
I don't know.
We're weird. That's why.
It's the right-handed side of the plate. Is that how we ever start saying it?
The right-handed side of the plate would be batting left-handed. The left-handed side of the plate would be batting right-handed.
That's the right side of the plate, not the right-handed side.
Oh, right-handed. Okay, right-handed side. Gotcha. Okay, yeah. Batting right-handed. Why don't we just say batting right-handed or batting left-handed?
Who's on first?
What's on second?
This gets back to my favorite thing, which was that the one thing I had in common with Tony La Russa is that I hate games below or above 500. Like, I hate that phrase that people use. I know La Russa always did plus or minus of your win column and your loss column, and I always think that makes a lot more sense because it's always weird to me when people will say like a 10-6 team was 4 games above 500, and I'm like, well, no, because the 2 games change and then they're 500.
What happens if they win?
Exactly, 4 more games.
4 in a row. Yeah.
Then they're 500, and that's why I'm saying it weirds me out. Speaking of how you say things and people reacting certain ways, the Cardinals today put out the starting lineup, and as they put out the starting lineup, they said Gibby gets the start today. And let's just say Cardinals Twitter reacted extremely poorly to that. And my reaction to that is the guy's been called Gibby his entire playing career. You're just going to be like, no, sorry, we had a Gibson one time and he was called Gibby, so we can never use that nickname again. It's a weird reaction.
I don't like it.
You don't like him being called Gibby or the reaction?
I don't like it. I call him Kyle Gibson. There's one Gibby. There's Bob Gibson.
There's a reason that Matt Carpenter is Marp.
And that's you.
Well, he couldn't be Carp.
Chris Carpenter?
That was Carp.
Okay. So don't go Gibby.
No, I'm fine with not going Gibby. Although it seems like everybody that I know with the last name Gibson is nicknamed Gibby.
I agree. But there's only one Bob Gibson. So he cannot,
Well, let's not call him Bob then.
But here's the thing, though. This is why I brought it up, because no better show than this show to remedy this situation, because Randy Carricker, the nickname general, if you will, in St. Louis, we're I think going to be talking to Kyle Gibson a fair amount of times this season. So I think we just have to iron this out right now, because I mean we already figured out the Robert Thomas situation for our weekly interviews. I think we got to figure out how do we refer to Kyle Gibson if it's not going to be Gibby. We need you to figure this one out.
How about
Randy?
Gibbo?
Gibbo? No. How about Kyle or Kyle Gibson? That's it. That's it.
I'm confused what you're saying here. That's just.
Good morning, Kyle. How are you?
No, you can't do that. You have to give him a nickname that he probably hates.
No.
All right, fine.
The Cardinals have given him Gibby, and I would guess his teammates are probably calling him Gibby.
Yeah, probably are. Yeah, but they don't know who Bob Gibson is.
That's true. That's a problem.
KG's good.
KG.
I like that. I'd go
don't
KG.
We already have one of those?
That'd be KD.
Not in this town.
In Oaktown?
Not in this town, though. That's not a thing in St. Louis.
Oh, okay.
I asked, if you all walk up to 20 people in St. Louis and say, who is KG, how many people are actually going to pop out Kevin Garnett?
Oh, no. They're talking about the morning after.
Oh, KG. Oh, yeah, KG. You said Oaktown. I didn't even. Wow, that's bad for me. I didn't put that one together. My bad, KG. I'm sorry, buddy. I'll see you in the hallway later and apologize for that one. No, I think, listen, I love KG in Oaktown, but I think we could probably do for another one.
Getting a lot of Kibbies.
Kibby. Kibby. Okay, I'm good with that.
Gibbs.
Gibbs.
That's more of a hockey thing. Well, we got the puck over to Gibbs, and he buried it.
Yeah, I think they probably call their, like John Gibson, the goaler for the Anaheim Ducks, probably Gibby.
They probably call him
Probably Gibby.
It was a weird reaction. Speaking of weird reactions, they just announced today that Mike Tyson, ladies and gentlemen, is going to be back in the ring.
You just took my take it or leave it for tomorrow. I'm going to have to come up with something else now.
Oh, man.
No.
Well, Mike Tyson's going to fight Jake Paul. I had to write down which Paul it was. He's going to fight Jake Paul in a boxing match on Netflix. Does the fact that it's on Netflix make you question the legitimacy?
No, I like it.
Okay.
I love it. He's going to, Mike Tyson will annihilate him.
I hope so.
I do too.
I'm surprised that Jake Paul hasn't been annihilated yet.
Have you watched the Netflix documentary on him?
No.
It's kind of interesting.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, it's pretty good.
Good story.
There's a video, and I think it's now 3 or 4 years old, so maybe it's not the same, but there's a video of Tyson training from like 3 or 4 years ago, and it's not a long video, but it's just he's showing guys how you like switch your hips through a punch to like get a different angle, and it's the most powerful, dangerous, like 13 seconds of video I've ever seen in my entire life. Like I watch it, and I'm legitimately terrified if I would ever see Mike Tyson because the amount of power and quickness still in just the phone booth.
He's a nice guy.
God, I mean, yeah, he might be a nice guy, but you put the gloves on him, and he's going to knock you out. And I'm not hating on Jake Paul and Logan Paul for this one. I really want to see Tyson knock somebody out. I've never got to see it in my life.
Yeah, I want to see it.
Let's win one for the Gibber.
Oh, there we go.
Every 5th day. Let's win one for the Gibber in the clubhouse. Just thought of that.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, the Gibber's actually really good. I like that. We solved it. Now we just got to check it with him.
Yep.
Which usually goes really well for us.
Yeah. Great job today by our producer, audio, video engineer, the one, the only Matthew Rocchio. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure.
Danny Mac, this was fun. We've gone old school.
We have gone old school. Pleasure.
Yep. Brooke is out for her bachelorette party. She will return next Monday. We thank you for tuning in, texting in, and being a part of the show. For all of us, until tomorrow morning at 7, have a great Friday Eve, St. Louis.
That's right.